Chapter 12:16. The entire Huangtian mystic realm was trembling. The Jun family's army was gathering. The immortal realm cultivators who came to participate in the war were also gathering to follow the army into battle. Ancient warships as large as continents came from the depths of the Jun family's ancestral land. They were war arcs that could cross the mystic realm. They were engraved with many ancient runes and terrifying killing arrays. Each war arc consumed an astronomical amount of resources. Ordinary immortal realm cultivators could only build a few. The Jun family had mobilized 30 of them. Each war arc had a space array inside, which could easily accommodate millions of people. What was even more terrifying was that there were special arrays engraved in the war arcs that could gather the power of the cultivators who controlled the war arcs. A group of saint-level cultivators controlling the war arcs could hurt supreme beings. If many supreme beings controlled the war arcs at the same time, even boundary emperors could not ignore the power. That was the most terrifying part of the war arcs. The immortal realm's last war was only within the Huangtian mystic realm. That was why the Jun family did not use them. But now, the Jun family was going to use the war arcs to cross the endless galaxies and destroy the Jin dynasty, the top 3 assassins. Oh my God, we can't even make one of these even if we use up all the resources of dynasty, some dynastic overlords exclaimed. In the next moment, many cultivators throughout the Huangtian mystic realm felt a terrifying aura. Figures appeared in the sky above the Huangtian mystic realm. Every figure was blurry and transcendent, with an aura that could crush eternity. The Jun family's boundary emperors had appeared. The Jun family's 7th forefather, Jun Taeya. The Jun family's 6th forefather, Jun Taishin. Then, another old man appeared, holding a chopper and carrying an ancient tree wrapped in chaotic energy on his shoulder. Is that the Jun family's 5th forefather? He's carrying, damn it, the chaotic ancient tree. Some of the old antiques were stunned. The chaotic ancient tree was not as rare as the world tree, but it was almost on the same level as the 6 paths of reincarnation immortal root. But the Jun family's 5th forefather was so powerful that he appeared with the chaotic ancient tree. I heard that the child of the Jun family was injured. He inherited the Azure Emperor's chaotic physique. In that case, let the chaotic ancient tree heal him. The innate chaotic essence contained in it should be helpful for his recovery. The 5th forefather Jun Taihao through the chaotic ancient tree. Thank you, 5th forefather. Even the 18th ancestor and the others cupped their fists slightly. Patriarchs like them were considered juniors in front of the ancient ancestors. It's just given it? In the Huangtian mystic realm, the group of cultivators was dumbfounded. Such a precious item was given away so casually, as if it was a cabbage. Was this a top-tier undying family? He was in love. Hee, old 5th, you're still the same as before. At this moment, a female voice sounded. A woman in a bright and luxurious dress appeared. Her demeanor was like that of a pretty girl from a humble family, and a terrifying wave of quasi-emperor energy shook the surroundings. Many experts felt like they were suffocating. 9 Tribulation quasi-emperor. Someone cried out. This young lady was actually a 9th tribulation quasi-emperor. He might not even be far from proving his Tao. Greetings, ancient ancestor Taiyan. The 18th forefather and others were even more shocked. They didn't expect the 4th forefather to show up and be alarmed by the Horn of Doom. I'd like to meet the Jun family's child. But before that, let's take care of business and destroy those 3 ants. The 4th forefather of the Jun family, Jun Taiyan, was as delicate as a spring flower and as charming as the autumn moon. She even gave people a feeling of being delicate and amiable. But the words she said were extremely domineering, which didn't match her gentle temperament. The Jin dynasty, one of the top 3 assassins in the mystic realm, was just an ant in her eyes. However, the arrival of the strong cultivators was not limited to that. Then, a few hazy figures appeared. One of the old women was Jun Suehua of the Jun family's hidden branch. This was a group of boundary emperors from the hidden branch. Of course, the main branch and the hidden branch were not separated. The Jin dynasty, one of the top 3 assassins of the Jun family, must be tired of living, Jun Suehua said coldly. Suddenly, more than 10 figures stood above the Huangtian mystic realm. It was as if more than 10 gods were standing there. Is this the power of the Jun family? More than 10 boundary emperors appeared so casually. Everyone was shocked. Jun Xiaoyao's power had shocked everyone, and they knew that this was definitely not the full power of the Jun family. At this moment, the entire 9 heavens mystic realm was shaking. Countless eyes fell on the Jun family of the Huangtian mystic realm. The Xian Ting, the underworld, the Archean royalty, the Holy Spirit tribe, the Gulan sect, the Overlord Ancestral Hall, the Western sect, even the 9 heavens and the Grey clan had their eyes on the Jun family. It could be said that this battle of the immortals had attracted the attention of the entire mystic realm. Many of them wanted to know how powerful the Jun family was. And now, the tip of the iceberg was revealed, which was enough to make many forces wary. But just when everyone thought that the Jun family's army was about to be assembled, suddenly, many people felt a terrifying aura. Countless mystic realms were trembling, the space was shaking, and the big stars were rustling and falling. A hazy figure traversed the boundless space and arrived. It was as if he was stepping on thousands of daos. Every step he took made the world tremble. Endless Emperor's light illuminated the entire universe. It was a middle-aged man holding the 9 dragons' godly sword. His face was blurry, and he looked like an ancient god. With his arrival, the entire Huangtian mystic realm was shaking. This was the true power of the Emperor. It's him! He showed up. Seeing this figure, the supreme antiques from the Xian Ting, the Archean royalty, and other places were shocked. They didn't expect this battle of the immortals to attract the attention of the Jun family. It's the 3rd ancestor. Greetings, 3rd ancestor. Seeing this figure coming, even the 18th ancestor and the others cupped their hands like juniors. Jun Tai, Jun Taixin, Jun Taihao, and Jun Taiyan also cupped their hands slightly. The person who came was the 3rd ancestor of the Jun family, Jun Taihuang. However, the people of the world were more familiar with his other name, Taihuang. This was a true great emperor. Because of the Archean Treaty of Alliance, emperors rarely appeared in the mystic realm. Therefore, Taihuang had always been in seclusion in an ancient cavern in the depths of the Dam world. It's really him, Taihuang, in the Xian Ting, an ancient existence sighed slightly. In that era, Taihuang was also a name that couldn't be forgotten. Even though he wasn't as powerful as Qi Tiandi, his ancestor, who could suppress the universe, he was still a bright sun in the Jun family. The appearance of the Jun family's true emperor undoubtedly caused a stir in all directions. There were rumors before that the Jin dynasty's 3 great assassins might have a great emperor of the killing path who had been sleeping for a long time. But now, Taihuang had shown up, and all the great emperors of the killing path had to stand aside. However, that was not all. In another direction, another hazy and terrifying figure appeared, and it was also filled with bright emperor's light. It was a peerless man with silver armor and a mask on his face. His silver hair was as bright as the Milky Way. It's the Divine Universe Emperor! Countless people exclaimed. No one was unfamiliar with this figure. In the previous war between the mystic realm and the foreign realm, he had appeared. It was the emperor of the Jun family's hidden branch, the Divine Universe Emperor Jun Shinyu. Taihuang, Divine Universe Emperor. The appearance of the Jun family's 2 great emperors shocked the mystic realm and shook the universe. The 3 great assassins' Jin dynasty is finished. This was what everyone thought. Chapter 12:17. Emperor Tai and Emperor Shen, you were like 2 prideful suns that illuminated the entire Huangtian mystic realm. The boundless and dark universe was illuminated by the radiance of the Emperor's Tao. There were only 2 of them, but they illuminated the vast universe. Following their arrival, all the members of the June family were excited, and their blood was boiling. This was the June family, the invincible June family. Whoever dared to anger them had to be prepared to be destroyed. However, the three assassins of the Jin dynasty are like rats in the gutter. It won't be easy to find their nest. June Taiyan, one of the four ancestors of the June family, had a thoughtful look in her eyes. As a nation of assassins in the mystic realm since ancient times, the three assassins of the Jin dynasty had assassinated countless figures of great forces. Therefore, there were naturally many immortal forces that had a grudge against them. Because of this, the nest of the three assassins of the Jin dynasty was extremely well hidden. It was impossible for the outside world to know where the nest of the three assassins of the Jin dynasty was. In history, there were some immortal forces that were infuriated by the assassins of the Jin dynasty. They joined forces and wanted to suppress the three Jin dynasty. In the end, when they finally found the nest, they discovered that it was actually a conspiracy. Not only did they not find the true nest, but they also suffered heavy losses. What was even more terrifying was that after that immortal battle, all the immortal forces that participated in the battle suffered the bloody revenge of the three assassins of the Jin dynasty. Regardless of whether they were of the older generation or the younger generation, they would immediately be assassinated as soon as they stepped out of their territory. That could be said to be a bloody period in the history of the mystic realm. After that, no other immortal forces dared to easily start an immortal battle against the three assassins of the Jin dynasty. Only the June family dared to make a move. "Everyone, leave this matter to me." This voice came from the Jiang family of Qingzhou. The army of the Jiang family had also finished gathering. Ancient warships filled the sky. Other than Jiang Daoxiu and the other boundary emperors of the Jiang family also appeared. The one who spoke was a high-level boundary emperor of the Jiang family named Jiang Heng. He raised his hand, and three tortoiseshell floated in the void. Immediately, dense and mysterious runes imprinted in the void. All sorts of karmic threads appeared. Oh, the Jiang family's divination technique is indeed superb. Your ancestor had a supreme cultivator named Jiang Shang, known as the Celestial Mystery Emperor, said Jun Taixian, the sixth patriarch. The Jiang family's heritage was equally ancient. Although it was not comparable to the Jun family, it was at least much older and more powerful than the other families of the remote antiquity. Although the Jiang family had also participated in the Battle of the Immortals, the Jiang family did not send any great emperors because the Jun family was the one leading the battle. However, the appearance of several quasi-emperor ancient ancestors of the Jiang family already represented the Jiang family's intentions. Jun Xiaoyao was also the Jiang family's reverse scale that could not be offended. Jiang Heng was a powerful high-level quasi-emperor of the Jiang clan. However, his greatest strength was not his strength, but part of the Jiang family's heavenly secret divine skills. The celestial mystery divine skill originated from the mysterious and powerful emperor of the Jiang family, the celestial mystery emperor Jiang Shang. But he had another name that was even more familiar to people. Grand Duke Jiang. The heavenly secret divine art he left behind was too complicated. Even in the Jiang family, not many people could comprehend it. Jiang Heng, on the other hand, was extremely talented and could be considered a very outstanding figure in the modern era of the Jiang family. Most importantly, he comprehended part of the heavenly secret divine art and could deduce some heavenly secret. There was even a rumor that had been circulating before. It was said that the reason the Jiang family and the Jun family were so close and had been connected by marriage for generations, a large part of the reason was that the celestial mystery emperor Jiang Shang had left behind a message. In the future, the era would be overturned. If one wanted to see the light, they had to be with the Jun family. As the celestial mystery emperor, who was the best at deducing heavenly secrets, Jiang Shang's words were obviously not baseless. Of course, this was just a rumor. As for whether it was true or not, no one cared. Because now, the two families were wearing the same pant. At this moment, Jiang Heng used the heavenly secret divine art. Although he had only comprehended part of it, it was still mysterious enough that ordinary great emperors could not understand it. However, a deep look flashed in the eyes of the third ancestor Jun Taihuang and the divine universe emperor of the hidden branch. As the real great emperors, they could naturally see some clues. As expected of the Jiang family's heavenly secret divine art, the divine universe emperor exclaimed. The fact that it could be praised by a great emperor was enough to show how mysterious the secret art was. Soon, the three tortoiseshells trembled and emitted a hazy glow. Then, three beams of light suddenly burst out and pointed in three directions. Found the tracks of these rats. Jiang Heng's face revealed a cold smile. The three tortoiseshells represented the Jin dynasty, the three great assassins. One of the beams of light pointed in a direction. Many people looked over, and they were all extremely surprised. The direction was not in any of the 9 heavens, immortal realm. It was in an extremely chaotic and dangerous star region, which was also a no man's land. The chaotic astral ocean. It's there! Many experts exclaimed. The tortoiseshells represented the Blood Pagoda, one of the 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty. In other words, the Blood Pagoda's base was in the boundless chaotic astral ocean. No wonder. I once heard some secret information. The Blood Pagoda's base is not fixed. It's like a floating fortress. That floating fortress is called the Blood Pagoda. Now, many people were enlightened. No wonder the Blood Pagoda's base was difficult to find. It was not fixed to begin with. But now, the location had been found out. Even if the Blood Pagoda wanted to run away, it would be very difficult to do so in a short time. Let us go to the Blood Pagoda. Protector Wu of the Emperor Imperial Court said. Strictly speaking, among the 3 great forces, the Emperor Imperial Court was the weakest. The Emperor Imperial Court was the weakest. After all, it had only been established for a short period of time. It did not even have a true boundary emperor. The only one, the Big Dipper Emperor, was only a nominal guest. He did not stay in the Emperor Imperial Court for long. As for the Shanao of Beach, after returning to the immortal realm, he went to a mysterious ancient place to cultivate in seclusion. After all, he was too old. He was from the same era as Qi Tiandi. It was already impressive that he could live until now. It was impossible for him to stay awake forever. Do you need the Jun family to send some people? Jun Tianming of the 8th ancestor hesitated. Although the Blood Pagoda was considered the weakest of the 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty, but it would not be easy for the Emperor Imperial Court to deal with it. Protector Wu hesitated. At this moment, a beautiful woman appeared and smiled. No need. We will help the Emperor Imperial Court. This woman who suddenly appeared had skin that was sparkling and translucent like fine jade. Her eyes were intelligent and brilliant. She was wearing a white gauze dress. She was ethereal like a fairy under the moon. He had an aloof and detached temperament. It was the Nirvana fairy of the Nirvana clan, Meng Nuer. Previously, after the war between the 2 worlds, the Nirvana clan had also migrated to the Huangtian mystic realm. However, because of the special nature of the Nirvana clan, the Emperor Imperial Court did not absorb them. And to be honest, in the entire Nirvana clan, the Nirvana flower's mother alone was enough to compare to all the strong cultivators in the Emperor Imperial Court. It could be said that she alone was the Emperor clan and the immortal realm. Well, okay. Jun Tianming nodded slightly. The others of the Nirvana clan might not be worthy of the Jun family's attention. But the Nirvana flower's mother was absolutely terrifying. After all, she was the ghost-faced Empress reincarnation. Now, the Blood Pagoda should be praying. Chapter 12:18. Next, the other 2 tortoise shells were also discovered by the crowd. The Serene Nation was located in the underworld immortal realm of the 9 heavens immortal realm. It's the underworld immortal realm. Rumor has it that it was the dojo of the underworld during the bygone era. Some experts' eyelids twitched. If one were to ask which immortal realm was the most ancient and mysterious in the nine heavens immortal realm, the underworld immortal realm was definitely on the list. Rumor had it that it was the birthplace of the underworld, the dojo of the underworld. The underworld was so mysterious that it was known as the Sien Ting of the darkness. They kept a very low profile, and it was not an exaggeration to say that they were a force under the surface. Moreover, just like the immortal court, the underworld wasn't just a simple force. The branches and veins within it were extremely huge and complicated. The underworld king bloodline, which had conflicts with the June family, was related to the underworld. Rumor had it that the underworld king bloodline worshipped the one-armed underworld king, who was a super big shot in the ancient underworld. Now, everyone remembered that there were also rumors that the Serene Nation and the underworld were inextricably linked. Many of the Serene Nation's assassination techniques came from the underworld. Leave the Serene Nation to the Jiang family, Sub-Emperor Jiang Hing said, since the imperial court was in charge of dealing with the Blood Buddha. Then the Jiang family would deal with the Serene Nation. I'll go with the Jiang family, the Divine Universe Emperor said. The underworld immortal realm was extremely mysterious and ancient. In addition, the Serene Nation was inextricably linked to the underworld. It was safer to have a great emperor to suppress it. Thank you, Divine Universe Emperor. Jiang Heng cupped his hands slightly. Next, the arrangements were made. The Divine Universe Emperor, Jun Suihua, and the other ancient ancestors of the hidden bloodline would go with the Jiang family to Serene Nation. Then, only the heaven was left. In fact, the three great assassins of the Jin dynasty were equally famous. But there was a faint difference between the strong and the weak. Among the three Jin dynasty, the weaker one was the Blood Buddha. The second was the Serene Nation. And the strongest was the heaven. Because among the three Jin dynasty the heaven had the oldest history. There were even rumors that the heaven's history was almost as old as the Sien Ting. And the Jun family was the one who went to heaven. However, to everyone's surprise, the heavenly hall was located in the chaotic heaven immortal realm. It was in Sien Ting's territory. The entire Huntian immortal realm was extremely large, and countless forces and clans were located within it. It was understandable for heaven to be hidden within. After that, everything was arranged properly. The monarch emperor court headed to the chaotic star region. The Jiang family headed to the underworld immortal realm. The Jun family headed to the Huntian immortal realm. The army set out. The Jun family's army drove 20 war arcs. The remaining 10 ships were given to the monarch dynasty. The Jiang family had their own warship that could cross the immortal realms. Naturally, they didn't need to borrow the Jun family's warship. 3 forces, 3 armies, set off from the Huangtian mystic realm. In the void, the light of various teleportation formations flickered. The Ark of War was equipped with its own teleportation array. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a warship that could cross immortal realms. The 3 armies headed in 3 different directions. Wherever they passed, the void trembled and great stars shattered. No living being dared to block the path of these 3 armies. That battle intent and killing intent shook the heavens and the clouds, causing the heavens and the earth to dim and the universe to tremble. What was even more shocking was that these 3 armies were moving too fast. Generally speaking, the more powerful the army, the slower the speed of movement. However, these 3 armies flashed the void array from time to time, and their speed was extremely fast. This was the ability of a warship that could cross immortal realms. However, the only drawback was that every time the void array was activated, it consumed a terrifying amount of immortal sources and other resources. It could be said that even the immortal forces might not be willing to use it like this. However, the Jun family and Jiang family didn't care at all. They were rich and willful. Most importantly, they were eager for revenge. Now, other than destroying the Jin dynasty, They had no other goal. How terrifying! They are determined to destroy the Three Jin dynasty. This is the consequence of angering the Jun family. They will destroy them as they wish. There's no doubt about it. Along the way, many forces were alarmed and wanted to go and watch. There were even some forces that had old grudges with the three assassin dynasties who had joined the team. For example, the forces that had started an immortal war against the Three Jin dynasty had suffered bloody revenge in the end. Now these forces were extremely excited. They were clapping their hands and cheering. There's a cycle of reincarnation. Who would be forgiven by the heavens? The Three Jin dynasty finally met their end. This is the cycle of karma. These assassins used to be so arrogant in the Jin dynasty. Who would dare to provoke them? Now that they have provoked the Jun family, they deserve it. Haha, I'm looking forward to witnessing the destruction of the Jin dynasty. These forces, which had suffered miserably at the hands of the three assassin dynasties, also sent people to join the three armies in wiping out the three dynasties. It was also a force that could not be ignored. Rumble. The ancient warship traveled billions of li and broke through the stars like a steel flood. Looking from the outside, the underworld immortal realm was shrouded in a faint mist all year long. Compared to the other immortal realms in the Nine Heavens immortal realm, the underworld immortal realm had fewer factions and living beings. The reason being that this place was too strange. It had been the dojo of the underworld since ancient times. That being said, the underworld immortal realm was not officially stationed in the underworld immortal realm. No one knew where the real underworld immortal realm was. However, at this moment, the entire underworld immortal realm seemed to be trembling. The mighty steel flood covered the sky, the sun, and the stars. The vast army of the Jiang family and the hidden branch of the Jun family crossed the boundless galaxy and arrived at the underworld immortal realm. Today we will descend upon the underworld immortal realm and destroy the Yu nation. Jun Xiaoyao's grandfather, Jiang Daoxiu, yelled furiously on the deck of one of the ancient warships of the Jiang family. Jun Xiaoyao had taken a great risk to find the Nine Wonders reincarnation immortal grass in the eternal burial ground for his grandfather to treat his unmentionable illness. Jiang Daoxiu had treated this filial and outstanding grandson of his like a precious treasure. Now Jun Xiaoyao was being ambushed by the three assassins of the Jin dynasty. Jiang Daoxiu insisted on entering the battlefield to avenge his grandson. The army of the Jiang family arrived at a dark area. This was originally a hidden ancient realm, but Jiang Huang had managed to find it through his calculations. He squinted slightly with a cold grin. As he stretched out his hand, the strength of a high-level sub-emperor erupted and crushed over. Jiang Huang was a ninth tribulation sub-emperor. This was already extremely terrifying. He was not far from becoming a true emperor and only needed an opportunity. Rumble. Boundless killing light instantly soared up in this dark region. That was the activation of an ancient formation, and a shocking killing aura burst forth. The complete version of the 8th archaic killing formation. Sub-Emperor Jiang Heng's expression was calm. The complete version of the archaic killing formation was indeed powerful. Previously, the Jun family had only used a portion of the third killing formation's power in the immortal battle, and it was enough to protect the entire Jun family. Now, Secluded Country fully activated the complete version of the 8th archaic killing formation, and it was indeed an extremely strong defense. However, before Jiang Huang could make a move, a vast hand that covered the entire galaxy came crashing down from above the universe. As the palm swept across, the 8th archaic killing formation collapsed. Today, Secluded Country will be eliminated. The Divine Universe Emperor stood above billions of galaxies and looked down at the underworld immortal realm. His tone was cold and indifferent, like a god judging all living beings. This was the might of a emperor. Chapter 12:19. The Milky Way moved and the universe trembled. The Divine Universe Emperor's attack had destroyed the secluded nation's 8th ancient killing formation. How powerful and domineering was that? This was a true invincible Emperor's aura. Apart from those at the same level, no one could stop it. At that moment, a cold shout resounded in the dark ancient world. "Don't go overboard!" The one who spoke was a Boundary Emperor assassin from the secluded nation. It wasn't that they didn't want to escape. As long as the Jiang family was here, the Jiang family's heaven's secret divine arts would definitely be able to deduce their location. Thus, even if they tried to escape, it would be useless. The secluded nation could only endure. Who went overboard? If you want to blame someone, blame yourselves for being blind. Jiang Heng's expression was extremely cold. The secluded nation had sent boundary emperors to kill Jun Xiaoyao. Wasn't that overboard? Today, the secluded nation was destined to perish. Kill! Jiang Daoshu only had one word. At this point, there was no need to say any more nonsense. Rumble! A terrifying array lit up on the Jiang family's ancient warship and gathered into a shocking light beam that shot toward the ancient realm where the secluded nation was. Countless destructive light beams fell toward the secluded nation. The killing arrays and traps were destroyed one after another. "You've gone too far." A cold voice sounded from the secluded nation. 4 figures appeared, emitting a monstrous aura. They were all boundary emperors. Even the weakest was a 3rd tribulation boundary emperor. Among them, the strongest was a 9th tribulation quasi-emperor like Jiang Heng. Some of the experts from various forces who were watching the battle from afar were also shocked. As expected of the top 3 assassins, the Jin dynasty easily produced 4 boundary emperors, including the boundary emperor that had already died. The secluded nation had a total of 5 boundary emperors. This was already an extremely shocking number. Kill! The Jiang family's ancestors, including Jiang Heng and Jun Suehua from the Jun family's hidden branch, attacked together. Instantly, a great battle between boundary emperors erupted, and terrifying shockwaves shook the entire underworld immortal realm. Above the Milky Way, the Divine Universe Emperor stood with his hands behind his back. Apart from destroying the 8th ancient killing array, he didn't do anything else. His eyes flashed with a look of contemplation. The originally lifeless underworld heaven immortal realm was instantly engulfed in a shocking battle. The quasi-emperors were not the only ones fighting. The 7th realm martial highness and the 9th realm martial saint cultivators were also engaged in a fierce battle. Kill! Avenge the young master of the Jiang clan. You dare to encircle the son of God of the Jun family? Only death awaits you. Destroy secluded country. This group of trash in the darkness can no longer exist in the immortal domain. The flames of war reached the heavens and swept out in all directions. In the ancient secluded world, numerous figures also flashed out. They were the experts and assassins from secluded country. They couldn't escape even if they wanted to, and could only fight to the death. They probably didn't expect it either. He was originally the Grim Reaper who harvested lives. But now, he had become the one being reaped. Was the secluded country strong? He was indeed very strong. As one of the top 3 assassins of the Jin dynasty, they had a strong background. All sorts of ancient artifacts, killing formations, traps, and divine weapons were unleashed. However, the allied forces of the Jiang family and the hidden branch of the Jun family were too strong. In terms of the number of quasi-emperors, they also suppressed secluded country. Boom! A vast emperor's aura shook the ancient Yu world. 2 emperor weapons glowing with blood-red light appeared. They were like 2 blood-red suns that suppressed the battlefield. Seeing this, Jiang Daoshu and the others showed disdain. Buzz. On the allied forces' side, the Jiang family also took out 2 emperor weapons. In addition, the hidden branch of the Jun family also took out 2 emperor weapons. A total of 4 emperor weapons suppressed secluded countries' emperor weapons. How can this be? Seeing this scene, all the assassins from secluded country felt despair. How could they continue fighting? It was impossible for them to win. However, this was not the only thing that made them despair. Drops of blood fell from the sky like meteors. That was the boundary emperor of secluded country. He was severely injured and vomited blood. His boundary emperor body was covered in cracks. It's over. Even these cold-hearted assassins were on the verge of a mental breakdown. Many people were even more resentful. Why did the higher-ups agree to join in the encirclement of Jun Xiaoyao? They were dancing on the tip of a knife. In the sky, the boundary emperor of secluded country roared. Do you know who ordered us to deal with Jun Xiaoyao? It doesn't matter who it is. We only know that you 3 assassins will destroy the Jin dynasty. Jiang Hing said coldly. Actually, he had also guessed it. To be able to get the 3 assassins to attack the Jin dynasty together, the power behind it was definitely terrifying. Even if the Jun family and the Jiang family worked together, they would still have to think carefully. The celestial realm was not suitable for an ultimate battle. Therefore, the 3 assassins from the Jin dynasty could only be scapegoat. Seeing that there was no turning back, the boundary emperor of secluded country became bloodthirsty. At this moment, in the depths of secluded country's ancient world, once again, a dense group of figures appeared. These figures were dressed in blood-red clothes. Their faces were numb, and their eyes were blood-red. Be careful! It's the death-worn of secluded country. Seeing this, an expert from the Jiang family loudly warned. The death-sworn of the 3 assassins from the Jin dynasty was undoubtedly the death-sworn. These death-sworn were emotionless and could even self-detonate without hesitation to take the enemy down with them. These were the killing machines trained by the Jin dynasty. Kaboom! In an instant there was the sound of explosions. Some death-sworn charged toward the Alliance army and self-detonated. Their strength might not be very strong, but the power of their explosions was terrifying. The Alliance army also suffered casualties. However, compared to secluded country, it was still much better. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that secluded country was just struggling on the verge of death. However, there was still more despair to come. An earth-shattering explosion rang out, shattering countless stars. That was a boundary emperor of secluded country who had been seriously injured and forced to self-detonate. On the Alliance army's side, there were 7 or 8 boundary emperors from the Jiang family and the hidden branch of the Jun family. How could the 4 boundary emperors of secluded country compare to this force? As expected, it didn't take long before another secluded quasi-emperor's blood splattered across the stars. The entire ancient secluded country was turned into a blood-red battlefield. No one knew how many living beings had died here, and even the blood of boundary emperors was splashed everywhere. At this moment, the divine universe emperor's eyes flashed as he looked toward the depths of the ancient secluded country. Kaboom! Countless runes appeared on the ground. The blood of countless experts, cultivators, and assassins was being absorbed like rivers flowing into an ocean, gathering the blood of tens of thousands of living beings. As expected, there's still something sleeping under the ancient secluded country. The divine universe emperor's eyes were deep. At this moment, a vast power came from under the ancient secluded country, causing more than half of the underworld immortal realm to tremble. An ancient bronze lamp appeared, and a bit of flame seemed to reflect the souls of tens of thousands of living beings. In an instant, the millions of dead souls that had fallen on the battlefield were all absorbed by the lamp. A quasi-immortal artifact. Many experts on the Alliance army's side couldn't help but exclaim. The secluded country was so strong that they even had a quasi-immortal artifact. Wait, why do I feel like that's an immortal artifact of the underworld, a part of the 10 kings of hell? An ancient ancestor of the hidden branch of the Jun family said with a deep gaze. The underworld had a supreme immortal artifact that was comparable to the lost throne of the celestial emperor in the Xian Ting. It was the 10 kings of hell. Rumor had it that it was a supreme immortal artifact formed by the combination of 10 quasi-immortal artifacts. Previously, the prodigy of the underworld king bloodline, the Holy Yama, had fought Jun Xiaoyao in the desolate border. He had used the underworld king bloodline's quasi-immortal artifact, the immortal artifact of Yama's hand. The hand of Yama was also a part of the 10 kings of hell. And now, this ancient bronze lamp reminded everyone of the underworld's quasi-immortal artifact, the soul guiding lamp. It was also a part of the 10 kings of hell. This means that the secluded country is indeed related to the underworld, the divine universe emperor murmured. Who dares to offend the secluded country? At this moment, a cold voice sounded, carrying with it an ancient aura. However, it seemed to resound in everyone's ears. Another shadow that had been sleeping for thousands of years was awakened and appeared. The true power of the secluded country had appeared. Chapter 12:20. Upon hearing this ancient voice, the remaining 2 quasi-emperors of the secluded country were pleasantly surprised. It's the Soul Overlord. The Soul Overlord has awakened. To be able to make 2 sub-emperors so surprised and respectful, they even called him Lord. It was obvious that this Soul Overlord was not an ordinary person. That dark figure appeared soundlessly like a shadow. Surprisingly, he did not have a majestic aura that could shake the ages, nor did he have the majestic emperor's might that could swallow the stars. However, such a person stood there coldly, as if the place he stood was the underworld, the Yellow Springs. It was a black-robed old man with a hunched back. He held the ancient bronze lamp in his hand. Millions of faces appeared in the flame of the lamp. They were all living beings that had died on the battlefield. Most of them were from secluded nation, but there were also a few cultivators from the Alliance army. However, this old man's face was cold and sinister. He opened his mouth and swallowed the millions of souls in the soul-guiding lamp. Suddenly, a majestic soul power surged. The old man's hunched back seemed to straighten a little. This action undoubtedly caused many experts from the Alliance army to break out in a cold sweat. Swallowing millions of souls in one gulp? Was this something an ordinary person could do? Moreover, it was too eerie and sinister. An emperor, this is a true emperor. Countless gazes were fixed on this old man. Although he was not like Jun Shinyu, who could swallow the stars and illuminate the universe with his emperor's might. He even seemed a little lethargic, like the sun setting in the west. However, he was, without a doubt, an emperor. Lord Soul Overlord. The 2 sub-emperors of secluded nation had blood flowing from the corners of their mouths. They were both injured. These are the souls of the origin spirits accumulated over the years. One of the sub-emperors took out a square crystal. Inside it, there were densely packed phantoms of living beings. Not only the human race, but all living beings in the immortal realm seemed to be in it. The number was simply uncountable. It was at least in the billions. Those are the targets that secluded nation has killed in these epochs. The ancient ancestor of the Jun family's hidden branch was shocked. Just how many living beings had he killed to accumulate so many Yuan Shen souls? Soul Overlord, he's related to the underworld. Jiang Heng's face was also extremely solemn. He had inherited part of the heavenly secret divine arts, and could vaguely sense some traces. Even though he was a 9th tribulation quasi-emperor, he appeared rather insignificant in front of this soul overlord. Now, many people rejoiced that the divine universe emperor was here. Otherwise, things would be really bad this time. Who knew that there was such a mysterious expert in the secluded country? Jiang family, Jun family, are you trying to destroy my secluded state? Soul Overlord Injio's gaze swept across the Alliance army. Of course, his main focus was still on the Divine Universe Emperor Lord. Soul Overlord, your origin is not simple. The Divine Universe Emperor stood above the Milky Way. Even though the Soul Overlord had appeared, his expression was still indifferent. This was the invincible belief that all the powerhouses of the Jun family had. The Soul Overlord's old face was somewhat cold. To be honest, even he was a little confused. He was sleeping peacefully, waiting for the best opportunity in this golden era. But now, he was startled awake. As for the reason, a quasi-emperor transmitted it through his divine consciousness. The Soul Overlord knew everything. Stupid, the Soul Overlord's heart was incomparably cold. This plan was completely stupid. The secluded state was completely being used. When he was sleeping, the secluded state was jointly ruled by 5 quasi-emperors. They all thought that after assassinating Jun Xiaoyao, they could transfer the entire ancient secluded world to the 9 heavens. Moreover, Di Haotian, the 9 heavens taboo families, and the Grey clan all agreed to give the secluded state many benefits. Di Haotian had even agreed to it. As long as they could kill Jun Xiaoyao, they could also tell the secluded state the location of the great emperor's remnant soul. That was the remnant soul of a great emperor. Even a wisp of it was stronger than the primordial spirits of hundreds of millions of people. If they could offer the great emperor's remnant soul to the Soul Overlord, then the Soul Overlord would probably be able to recover to his peak as soon as possible. But who would have thought that it would end up like this? But now, it was useless to regret. At this point in the war, it was impossible to make peace. In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless. The Soul Overlord swallowed the crystal that sealed hundreds of millions of souls in one gulp. In an instant, a vast aura erupted, releasing hundreds of millions of rays of dark light, as if to pull the entire world into the netherworld. He held the soul-guiding lamp in his hand and shouted coldly, "Battle in outer space!" The Divine Universe Emperor's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and grabbed. An immortal axe broke through the air, splitting the void. Dazzling immortal light bloomed, and a wisp of axe light could cut off a galaxy. It was the Jun family's quasi-immortal artifact, the Calamity Immortal Axe. The Divine Universe Emperor held the Calamity Immortal Axe and fought the Soul Overlord, who held the soul-guiding lamp, deep in the universe. It was as if there were hundreds of millions of thunderclaps. Endless great Tao and divine laws collided, releasing shock waves that shook the universe and then annihilated each other. The shock waves of the battle were terrifying to the extreme. The sun and moon shook, and the galaxy was destroyed. With each move, he easily destroyed many star regions. Fortunately, they were fighting in outer space. Otherwise, the entire underworld mystic realm would be affected. This was a battle between great emperors. Let's finish this mess as well, Jiang Hing said with a cold expression. If it wasn't for Xiaoyao's luck, Xiaoyao's soul might have been in that crystal today. We must eliminate the secluded country. Jiang Daoshu hated the Jin dynasty to the bone. Since the Soul Overlord has awakened, the secluded country will not be destroyed. That's right, you don't know how strong the Soul Overlord is. The remaining 2 sub-emperors of the secluded country were bitterly holding on as they shouted at the same time. Then you probably don't know how strong Ancestor Shin Universe is. He's a true giant among great emperors. Jun Suihua and the other ancient ancestors of the Jun family's hidden branch sneered. How many forces in the entire mystic realm were qualified to look down on the Jun family? The battle continued. The entire underworld mystic realm seemed to be dyed red by blood and was covered in a layer of bloody mist. There were simply too many living beings that had died. The secluded country was at an absolute disadvantage. The remaining 2 sub-emperors could only lead a group of defeated soldiers and rely on some ancient killing arrays to defend the core of the secluded country's ancient world. The ancient warships of the allied forces kept shooting out terrifying rays of laws. The secluded country's destruction was only a matter of time. The 2 sub-emperors of the secluded country still had hope. If the Soul Overlord won, then the secluded country still had hope. However, at a certain moment, in the depths of the distant universe, an old, angry roar could be heard. Blood dyed the river of stars red. Damn it, I shouldn't have woken up at this time. The one who spoke was the Soul Overlord. He was already very old and had been sleeping this entire time. He even needed to wake up every epoch to devour countless souls in order to maintain his strength as a great emperor. The Soul Overlord was waiting for the opportunity to become an immortal. However, who would have thought that all hope would be destroyed now? Do you know my true identity? I come from Jun. Shinyu spoke coldly before the Soul Overlord could finish speaking. I don't care who you are. If you provoke the Jun family, even an emperor will fall. The axe chopped down and billions of stars were destroyed. No, I'm unwilling. I want to wait for the material to become an immortal, for the hope of ascending. The Soul Overlord roared. Then, with a loud explosion, billions of great Daos exploded, and the void was blasted into nothingness. Strange phenomena appeared between heaven and earth. A rain of blood fell, and the great Daos returned to heaven and earth. These were the signs of an emperor falling, and their lives were in the hands of the heavens. At this moment, the entire 9 skies shook. Countless major forces that were paying attention to this battle of the immortals trembled. A true emperor had fallen. Chapter 12:21. How long had it been since they last saw something like this? Blood was floating in the sky, and the great Tao was returning to the heavens. Sorrowful music seemed to be echoing in the sky. It was the sorrowful melody of those who had reached the pinnacle of life after they died. It represented the end of their Tao attainment. There was nothing left. Everything was gone after they died. Only the endless brilliance of the great Tao was dissipating. It was the remaining power of the martial monarchs returning to the world after they died. To a certain extent, attaining the Tao and becoming a martial monarch was also a kind of plunder. Now that the martial monarchs were dead, the plunder should return to the world. How long has it been? Another martial monarch has fallen, the entire 9 heavens immortal realm was shaken. Some experts and old antiques exclaimed. Even in the war between the two worlds, no martial monarchs had fallen. Jun Xiaoyao and the others had stopped the ultimate calamity, so a real war did not break out. Now, a real martial monarch had fallen in the immortal war that crossed the immortal realms. It was no doubt a huge event that shook the entire 9 heavens immortal realm. Even a martial monarch would fall before the Jun family's army. No one could stop the Jun family's fury. Deep in the boundless universe, the rift was destroyed. The divine universe martial monarch stood in it. His body was glowing as he recovered. The curse of calamity is indeed a little troublesome. The divine universe martial monarch frowned slightly. The curse of calamity had indeed affected his performance in the battle just now. Fortunately, soul overlords were the kind of emperors who weren't in a good state. If it was someone else of the same level, the divine universe martial monarch would be in trouble. Then, the divine universe martial monarch fixed his gaze on the ancient bronze lamp. After the soul overlord died, only the soul guiding lamp was still emitting a faint light. Even the divine universe martial monarch could not break a pseudo-immortal weapon. The 10 pseudo-immortal weapons of the underworld can be combined into a supreme immortal weapon, the 10 kings of hell. The soul guiding lamp is one of them. The soul overlord must be a powerful expert of one of the 10 halls of the underworld, the divine universe martial monarch thought. Just as he raised his hand and was about to capture the soul guiding lamp, suddenly the void shattered, and a dark giant hand grabbed at the soul guiding lamp. "Humph, you want to take advantage of me behind my back?" The divine universe emperor snorted coldly, like a clap of thunder. He hacked out with the axe. Immortal radiance erupted endlessly, clashing with that large hand of darkness. At the same time, another large hand tore through the sky from another direction and grabbed the soul guiding lamp. This item originally belonged to the underworld. A cold voice sounded. 2 emperors. The divine universe emperor remained silent. Of course, these 2 great emperors did not show themselves. They merely attacked from a distance. They didn't want to avenge the soul overlord. They just wanted to take away the soul guiding lamp. After all, hell was just like Xianting. The various factions within hell were intricate and complex. Even if the Soul Overlord was once a member of the underworld, there was no need for them to risk their lives against the Divine Universe Emperor for a dead Soul Overlord. Secluded Country's actions have nothing to do with the underworld. The owner of the Dark Hand sent a voice transmission. That would be for the best. Otherwise, the Divine Universe Emperor paused. The underworld cannot withstand the wrath of the June family. Hee, a hoarse and cold laugh sounded. The two dark hands disappeared after grabbing the soul guiding lamp. The Divine Universe Emperor stood silently. If he really wanted to, he could have left the soul guiding lamp behind. But he didn't. It wasn't that he was afraid of the underworld. It was just that now was not the time to cause any more trouble. Compared to the Jin dynasty, the underworld was even more mysterious and shameless. They dug up graves, conducted all sorts of bloody experiments, recreated the cycle of reincarnation, and so on. Compared to the underworld, the Jin dynasty's ruthlessness was not even worth mentioning. The underworld is also gradually rising to the surface. Troubled times. The Divine Universe Emperor sighed. He felt that this immortal realm crossing immortal realm battle could not even be considered a storm. It was just a small wave before the storm. How is this possible? The Soul Overlord has fallen? Underworld, immortal realm, ancient secluded world. The remaining two great emperors' minds were blank. They were about to collapse. The strongest person in their hearts, the Soul Overlord, the foundation of secluded country, had fallen. No, this is impossible. The two great emperors could not believe it. But the bloody reality was right in front of them. Now, the entire ancient secluded world was like a bloody kingdom of death. Blood flowed and corpses were everywhere. Destruction was only a matter of time. The two great emperors' hearts were pounding. To be honest, the stronger a cultivator was, the more they cherished their lives. Because they were not willing to die like this. They still wanted to reach higher heights. The two great emperors looked at each other and seemed to see the determination in each other's eyes. Even the Soul Overlord had died. It was useless to continue resisting. We are willing to surrender and serve the June family to atone for our crimes. One of the great emperors said. Many people from the Alliance army were surprised. Those were great emperors. Even if they were not at the peak of cultivation, they were at least above billions of people. But now, they were begging for mercy and were willing to surrender. It seems that even great emperors are afraid of death. Many cultivators had cold smiles on their faces. In terms of being afraid of death, these great emperors were no different from normal cultivators. Of course, not all great emperors were as cowardly as these two great emperors. An ancient ancestor of the June family's hidden branch said coldly, "Surrender? Heh. Does the June family need two great emperors?" Jiang Daoshu also said coldly, "The crime of injuring my grandson is unforgivable. As I said, the three great assassins of the Jin dynasty will not be spared." Jiang Heng only spat out one word. "Kill!" The two great emperors were shocked and furious. The June family did not even care about the two great emperors. There was not much suspense after this. Although the two great emperors of the secluded country tried their best to resist. But in the end, they were surrounded by a group of great emperors and died. The remaining experts of the secluded country were also wiped out. Not a single one of them was spared. The entire secluded country was destroyed. Not a single person survived. This would definitely be recorded in the history books. The Jin dynasty, a powerful assassin organization, was destroyed just like that. The Jin dynasty was wiped out. The secluded country will no longer exist. Is this the consequence of angering the June family? Are they really going all out and leaving no one alive? Why do I feel like the June family is trying to establish their dominance? The various factions in the Nine Heavens immortal realm were watching the situation. To ordinary forces, The killer divine dynasty was like a venomous snake or scorpion. However, the Jun family and the Jiang family were able to easily destroy them. This was the strength of the three great emperors. Of course, the secluded country was the only exception. The Heavenly Hall and the Blood Pagoda also attracted a lot of attention. The army of the Emperor dynasty was advancing toward the realm of chaos. They were full of fighting spirit and killing intent. On the main warship of the Emperor dynasty's higher-up, Wu Hu, the leader of the clans in the immortal ancient world, Li Xian, and the others, an old blind man, Fang Xunyang, and the others from the Bronze Immortal Palace, Queen Medusa and the others from the Naga race were also present. The Xia sisters and the others from the business alliance of 10,000 clans were also present. They were the first batch of higher-ups of the Emperor dynasty. The beautiful goddess of the otherworld, Meng Nu, was also among them. She suddenly smiled and said, "Actually, I think we might have come in vain." "What do you mean?" The higher-ups of the Emperor dynasty looked at Meng Nu in confusion. Meng Nu did not say anything. She only smiled mysteriously. "Young Master Jun is injured. Our Supreme is not happy." Chapter 12:22. The realm of chaos was not part of the Nine Heavens' immortal realm. As the name implied, this was an incomparably chaotic and lawless zone. All kinds of killers, assassins, robbers, people who had blood on their hands, and people who were being hunted were gathered here. It was a vast area where crooks mixed in with honest folk. Trying to find someone here was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, before the expedition, Jiang Huang had used a heavenly secret divine art to calculate that the Blood Pagoda was located in the realm of chaos. At this moment, deep in the realm of chaos, a huge fortress the size of a continent was moving. The fortress was extremely ancient and emitted a desolate aura. The walls were stained with blood. This was the Blood Pagoda's base, a floating fortress. Its name was Blood Pagoda. Normally, the Blood Pagoda fortress would raise a concealment formation to hide the entire fortress. However, the surface of the Blood Pagoda fortress was glowing with hundreds of millions of formation runes. It was a teleportation formation. The Blood Pagoda fortress was about to leave this place. However, it was different from the ancient warship. The Blood Pagoda fortress was too huge. It couldn't teleport a long distance. It could only move a short distance. "We can't wait to die here." The voice of a supreme expert came from the Blood Pagoda fortress. "I heard that the Emperor's court is attacking us this time. The strength of this army should be weaker than the other two. So what? As long as the Jiang family's heavenly secret divine art is here, we'll be found no matter where we hide. We've completely miscalculated this time. We shouldn't have accepted this mission." It was supposed to be a surefire mission, but who knew that Jun Xiaoyao would be so tough? 3 boundary emperors tried to assassinate him but failed. The boundary emperors of the Blood Pagoda were obviously regretting their decision. They still hadn't received news of the secluded country's destruction. Otherwise, they would be in even more despair. At this moment, countless assassins were on high alert on the walls of the Blood Pagoda's fortress. They could vaguely guess what their fate would be in the future. Suddenly, a Blood Pagoda assassin looked up. He saw a slender scarlet flower petal fluttering down from the void. The assassin held the petal in his hand and was a little confused. Why would there be a petal floating in the depths of the starry sky? However, it wasn't just one petal. 2 pieces, 4 pieces, 6 pieces. More and more flower petals drifted down from the deep starry sky. In the end, it was as if there was a rain of flowers, vast and mighty. Countless flower petals drifted down, beautiful and strange. But obviously, this was not normal. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 figures appeared above the Blood Pagoda fortress. They were the 2 quasi-emperors of the Blood Buddha. The Blood Pagoda's strength and resources were at the bottom of the Jin dynasty's 3 great assassins. They were weaker than the secluded kingdom and heaven. Including the fallen quasi-emperor, there were only 3 of them. Of course, they also had a leader, the King of Assassins. However, he was not in the Blood Pagoda fortress. Instead, he was cultivating in seclusion in an ancient forbidden land. What happened? Is it the army of the monarch imperial court? The two quasi-emperors exchanged a glance and saw the grave look in each other's eyes. They sensed an incomparably dangerous aura. This caused their scalps to tingle slightly, and a bone-chilling coldness spread throughout their bodies. That's not right, one of the quasi-emperors suddenly raised his head and gazed into the depths of the firmament's star domain. Unknowingly, a blurry figure stood hundreds of millions of feet above the starry sky. The boundless Milky Way was like a small stream, encircling her exposed, snow-white feet. The figure was shrouded in a blurry aura. Not to mention a quasi-emperor, even a true emperor might not be able to figure out the details of this figure. However, the vague curves of the figure were still exposed. This figure was a woman with peerless beauty who could overturn the 9 heavens. Flower petals drifted down like rain. Those were the flowers of the other shore. They were flowers that bloomed on the other side of the yellow springs, beautiful and strange. With the sky full of petals as the background, the woman was simply beautiful to the extreme. Even many of the cold-hearted assassins in the Blood Pagoda were stunned at this moment. There was even a dazed look in their eyes. That woman was too perfect. However, there was a flaw in the perfection. They could not see her face. Her delicate body was blurry, and the only part of her face that could be vaguely seen was a somewhat clumsy ghost mask. "You are not from the monarch imperial court," one of the quasi-emperors of the Blood Pagoda probed. However, that incomparably mysterious and terrifying aura made him feel like he was about to be crushed. In the face of the Blood Pagoda expert's questioning, the peerless woman standing above the 9 heavens did not say a word. It was as if no one would communicate with an ant at their feet. That's right, in her eyes, these two quasi-emperors were just ants at her feet. After seeing the ghost mask, the other quasi-emperor seemed to have thought of something, and his pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle's eye. A chill of absolute zero invaded every corner of his quasi-emperor body. She is, what's wrong? The other quasi-emperor was a little confused. During the war between the two worlds, she appeared and fought with the ultimate disaster. The quasi-emperor's words caused the air to become deathly silent. The other quasi-emperor suddenly understood, and it was replaced by deep despair. There was no need to say who this peerless woman was. She was the supreme ruler of the Permetha clan, the mother of the Permetha flowers. Who would have thought that this interdomain battle would attract her to take action? It could be said that after reaching this level of existence, apart from ascending and becoming an immortal, there was nothing else that could move them. However, the mother of the Permetha flowers had appeared because of Jun Xiaoyao. At this moment, the sky was filled with Permetha flowers. This was originally an incomparably beautiful scene. However, all the people of the Blood Pagoda only felt a bone-deep chill. Wait, we are willing to surrender. In the face of such an existence, the two quasi-emperors of the Blood Pagoda were even doubtful. Even if the Lord of the Blood Pagoda, the King of Assassins, returned, he would probably not be of much use. Therefore, they were very direct and wanted to surrender. However, the mother of the Permetha flowers still did not say a word. She finally moved, slowly stretching out a lotus arm, the delicate jade-like hand pressed down with a palm. It was clearly a small and slender jade-like hand, but after the palm pressed down, the endless galaxy boiled. All kinds of great Tao divine patterns and chains of order collapsed and were destroyed. The spatial order instantly collapsed, and hundreds of millions of great stars were instantly annihilated into dust. Under this palm, all matter seemed to have been shattered into the most primitive state of molecules. This was an absolute suppression. The universe shook and the heavens resonated. In this vast chaotic star field, monstrous waves of laws were set off. The waves swept across the entire star field, and countless creatures in the chaotic star field were affected. It was like the end of the world. Many creatures with weaker cultivation were directly shocked to death from hundreds of millions of miles away. It was like a giant. With a stomp, it would always hurt the innocent. This was also why most emperor-level and above experts would go to the depths of the starry sky to fight. It was to avoid affecting other innocent people. But the mother of the Permetha flowers did not care. Or rather, to her, apart from continuing to cultivate and become stronger, Jun Xiaoyao was the only one she cared about a little bit. That was all. After the palm, the Blood Pagoda fortress no longer existed. Not even the fragments of the ruins remained. Only dust was flying in the sky. Under this palm, the two Blood Pagoda quasi-emperors were no different from the other Blood Pagoda assassins. They were all annihilated like ants. The palm of the mother of the red spider lilies wiped out one of the three great assassins of the Jin dynasty, the Blood Pagoda. However, the expression of the mother of the red spider lilies under the ghost mask was still cold and elegant, without the slightest fluctuation. Would you feel a sense of accomplishment if you stepped on an ant to death? However, the mother of the red spider lilies suddenly had an inexplicable feeling in her heart. It was as if there was also a peerless woman in the incomparably distant past. One palm to destroy the supreme celestial dynasty, one palm to destroy the eternal forbidden zone. Is it her shadow again? The mother of the red spider lilies muttered to herself. She wanted to get rid of the ghost-faced empress, but she could not. The mother of the red spider lilies figure faded into the void and disappeared. Soundlessly, an assassin of the Jin dynasty under her palm completely became the dust of history. Leisurely literature, let the soul travel. Chapter 12:23. The palm of the red spider lily's mother had undoubtedly set off monstrous waves in the entire chaotic star field. Countless creatures were affected. Those who were lucky only suffered some injuries. Those who were unlucky were directly killed. Hundreds of millions of living beings were trembling. What's going on? Is the end of the chaotic star field? Could it be the army of the imperial court? But they haven't started the war yet. In the chaotic star field, countless creatures were discussing. The tremors just now were as if the gods were destroying the world. The army of the imperial court was protected by the war arc, so naturally, they weren't affected. What's going on? That aura, even someone as calm as Wu who was shocked. What kind of power was that? With just one move, the entire chaotic star field was affected, and countless people were killed or injured. That direction is the direction of the Blood Pagoda, someone shouted. Full speed ahead and investigate the situation. Wu Hu ordered. Meng Nu-er, who had been following the army, revealed a look of understanding. Has he already made his move? To be able to make the unparalleled of my race take action so many times, young Master Jun, your charm is truly unstoppable. Meng Nu-er thought to herself. In the previous War of Calamity, the red spider lily's mother had also appeared and protected Jun Xiaoyao. It was the same this time. She naturally didn't know about the bond between the red spider lily's mother and Jun Xiaoyao. Just as the army of the imperial court was heading towards the Blood Pagoda. In another ancient land. This was a world of blood and evil, an ancient battlefield of slaughter. It was filled with endless danger. In the deepest part of this blood-fiend ancient land, in a sea of blood, a figure suddenly woke up and let out a cold shout. Who is it? This voice was vast and mighty, shaking the world. The entire sea of blood exploded, and the blood waves surged into the sky. Some of the explorers on the periphery were incomparably terrified. Oh my God, did some great evil awaken in the depths of the blood-fiend ancient land? Retreat, we can't stay here any longer. Many cultivators hurriedly retreated. In the sea of blood, a figure with long blood-red hair appeared. A pair of cold eyes, and the scene of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared. Countless blood-fiend demonic rings appeared around him. This was because he had killed too many living beings and condensed them into this form. Each blood-fiend demonic ring represented the slaughter of billions of lives. And beside this figure, there were over 10,000 blood-fiend demonic rings. How many living beings must have been killed to condense this? This figure was none other than the Lord of the Blood Pagoda, the King of Assassins. Who is it? Who dares to destroy my blood Buddha? The King of Assassins shouted angrily. He was an emperor of the Tao of killing, and he had proven his Tao through killing. Even great emperors of the same level would be wary of him. This was also why the Blood Pagoda had been able to survive for so long, and why it was on par with the other two great killers of the Jin dynasty. The Blood Pagoda itself wasn't very strong. However, as the King of Assassins, he was so powerful that even great emperors were wary of him. That was why no one dared to provoke the Blood Stupa for fear of the King of Assassins' revenge. But just now, the King of Assassins, who was accumulating power in the Blood Sea, sensed it. The Blood Pagoda was destroyed. This made him extremely furious. Who dared to go against the Blood Pagoda? Let me see who destroyed the Blood Pagoda. Even if it's a great emperor, I will make him pay the price in blood. Just as the King of Assassins was about to look for the murderer, suddenly red spider lilies fluttered and fell. The King of Assassins' body tensed up. This was his instinctive reaction when encountering danger. How can this be? The King of Assassins himself was puzzled. He was the great emperor of the Tao of killing. At this level, it could be said that there were almost no people in the immortal realm who could threaten him. Some great emperors were even wary of him. But now, he actually felt a sense of crisis that he hadn't felt in a long time. He had experienced this sense of crisis before. That was when he had just entered the cultivation world. Because of some grudges, his entire family was wiped out. He hid in a cesspool, trembling. In the end, he waited for his enemy to leave before he dared to climb out. Who would have thought that the great emperor of the Tao of killing, the supreme powerhouse of the Blood Pagoda of the Jin dynasty, once had the experience of hiding in a cesspool? It was also from then on that the King of Assassins' temperament became cold and twisted. In the end, he used killing to prove his Tao. This tragic memory that he didn't want to recall made the killing intent in the King of Assassins' eyes even more intense. It was because of that experience that he was exposed later on. Some people even joked in private and called him the Emperor of the Cesspool. Of course, those who mocked him on the surface were all killed by the King of Assassins, and their entire families were wiped out. Who is deliberately mystifying in front of me? The King of Assassins' murderous aura filled the sky. Tens of thousands of blood-fiend demonic rings bloomed with brilliant blood-red light. At this moment, in the void of the blood-fiend ancient land, a peerlessly beautiful silhouette, against the backdrop of the rain of flowers, quietly appeared. It was a clumsy ghost mask that was incomparably mysterious. Under the mask, there was a pair of cold eyes. Her hair was casually draped over her shoulders, and each strand was sparkling and translucent. Her body was wrapped in a black dress that was incomparably beautiful. Her slender and beautiful jade legs were crossed. Her feet that were not wearing shoes and socks tapped on the void. Countless divine runes of the great Tao appeared under her feet. There was no doubt that this was a peerlessly cold and beautiful woman. But at this moment, the King of Assassins was not in the mood to appreciate this beauty. Because he felt a kind of danger. Extreme danger. He had not experienced this kind of feeling since he had proven his Tao and become an emperor. And now, he was experiencing it again. The kind of fear and trembling that came from the depths of his soul. That kind of feeling was as if he had returned to the time when his entire family was wiped out. In order to survive, he hid in a cesspool to live. This kind of feeling made the King of Assassins feel a kind of monstrous humiliation and anger at the same time as fear. Were you the one who wiped out the Blood Pagoda? The King of Assassins guessed, but he still did not dare to believe it. How could the Blood Pagoda provoke such a terrifying existence? Even a quasi-emperor did not have the qualifications to assassinate such a person. He had been cultivating in seclusion, so he did not notice anything in the outside world. Naturally, he did not know what had happened. The mother of the hurricane lilies was as cold as frost. In the face of a true emperor-level figure, she looked at him in the eye. As an emperor, you still have some value. After saying that, the mother of the hurricane lilies stretched out a small and slender jade-like hand and pressed down on the king of assassins. Endless brilliance of the great Tao bloomed, surrounded by divine runes, as if heaven and earth were resonating and shaking. The entire blood-fiend ancient land suddenly shook, the sea of blood overturned and the ground cracked. This palm was enough to destroy the entire blood-fiend ancient land. This power is the supreme power of an emperor. The king of assassins was incomparably shocked. Even with his great emperor state of mind, at this moment, monstrous waves were stirred up. Since when could such a supreme expert so easily appear in the immortal domain? One should know that even emperors like them could not wreak havoc in the immortal domain under normal circumstances. This was the rule of the immemorial treaty. However, the king of assassins did not have time to think. That white hand was like the ancient vault of heaven collapsing and pressing down on him. Even though he was the king of assassins, he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood and was knocked back. His body cracked, and even his emperor body was shaking. It was not that a great emperor was not strong, but the mother of the hurricane lily's strength had far surpassed ordinary great emperors, reaching the supreme realm of emperors. Otherwise, she would not have been qualified to fight with the ultimate calamity before. The mother of the hurricane lilies used the supreme law to imprison the king of assassins. The great lord of the Blood Pagoda was suppressed by a single hand. Chapter 12:24. The blood-fiend ancient land had long been torn apart. This ancient battlefield that had existed since ancient times was on the verge of collapse after being hit by the mother of the red spider lilies. And the lord of the Blood Pagoda, the king of assassins, was imprisoned in the great Tao cage. Surrender or die. The mother of the red spider lilies spat out a few words coldly. If a quasi-emperor was worthless in her eyes, then the king of assassins in front of her had some value. Of course, it was not his value to her, but his value to Jun Xiaoyao. Even the powerful Jun family could not ignore the power of an emperor. Hearing the mother of the red spider lily's words, the king of assassins' eyes twitched. To be honest, in the face of a supreme emperor, it was impossible for him to resist. This kind of powerhouse was already at the top of the emperors. One more step and it was close to the god realm. It was close to a mythical existence. Hateful, I have built the Blood Pagoda on a bumpy road. How can I die like this? The king of assassins' face was incomparably ferocious. Generally speaking, when one reached the great emperor realm, one's state of mind would be like an ancient well. But not all emperors were like this. The king of assassins had experienced ups and downs, and even had the experience of hiding in a cesspool. This made him extremely realistic. Other than killing and becoming stronger, he had no other purpose. I can't fall here, although for a great emperor, surrendering was an absolutely humiliating thing. But the king of assassins had even escaped from a cesspool. Why would he be afraid of surrendering? Everything is worthless when one dies. As long as one is alive, there is hope. The king of assassins whispered. Just now, when he broke through the blood sea, he vaguely felt that the great Tao was returning between heaven and earth. That should be a great emperor who had fallen not long ago. The king of assassins did not want to be like that fallen great emperor. I am willing to surrender, the king of assassins said coldly. The mother of the red spider lilies did not say a word. Then, a slender jade finger pointed out. A destructive mark escaped into the king of assassins' body. That was a restriction and shackle. Just like when Jun Wuhui had restrained the Fufeng of Gojoseon. After all, the king of assassins was a true emperor. If he went berserk, the consequences would be unimaginable. The mother waved her hand and brought the king of assassins to break through the realm. Elsewhere, in the chaotic Star region, when the monarch imperial court's army arrived at the Blood Pagoda's encampment that Jiang Heng had calculated, everyone was a little confused. The reason for that was because there was nothing in front of him. Not even a single star could be seen. Only the huge abyssal rifts that stretched for billions of miles were left in the void. This cosmos was like a mirror that was shattered. Many void rifts and valleys appeared. What's going on? This place seems to have experienced a great battle. Is it that destructive wave from before? Who could cause such great destruction? What about the Blood Pagoda's fortress? Could it be that Quasi-Emperor Jiang Heng of the Jiang clan made a mistake? The Alliance army was dumbfounded. The experts of the major forces who came with him, such as the Yi family of the Ancients, the Demon Immortal Cult, the Demon God Palace, and the Holy Spirit College, were also confused. On the deck of an Ark of War, a tall and imposing Wu who had a deep gaze. He raised his hand and caught a strand of dust in the air. I'm afraid the Blood Pagoda has already been reduced to ashes. Wu, whose words silenced the entire army. There was dead silence in all directions. Many cultivators had a look of extreme astonishment on their faces. The Blood Pagoda is gone? Impossible. Even if a true great emperor personally took action, it's impossible to destroy it so thoroughly in such a short time, right? Yes, and I heard that if the Blood Pagoda's fortress was fully defended, it could even block the attack of a great emperor for a short time. Many people didn't believe it because it was too inconceivable. Nothing is impossible for the supreme beings of my clan. Suddenly, the Nirvana Heavenly Maiden Meng knew or walked out and said. Hearing this, the surrounding cultivators were surprised again. Then, they suddenly thought of someone. She was the existence who fought side by side with Jun Xiaoyao and Jun Wuhui in the Battle of Calamity. Countless gasps of cold air were heard. If it was her, then it was reasonable. However, it was indeed unexpected that such an existence would take action because Jun Xiaoyao was plotted against. Did we really come here for nothing? Many of the accompanying powerhouses were speechless, just as the entire army did not know what to do. Suddenly, the void seemed to tremble. Immediately, two figures appeared above the starry sky, attracting everyone's attention. The one who came was naturally the mother of the red spider lilies. Greetings, supreme beings! Meng Nu Er's eyes were filled with fanatical respect as she shouted loudly. It's really the mother of the red spider lilies! Greetings, mother of the red spider lilies! Countless cultivators in the entire army cupped their hand. Although the mother of the red spider lilies was considered an immortal of the foreign realm before. However, she fought side by side with Jun Xiaoyao and the others against the calamity and won the respect of the immortal realm. Also, the mother of the red spider lily's strength was unfathomable, which was the biggest reason why she was respected. The mother of the red spider lilies was peerless, but no one dared to stare at her. Therefore, many people shifted their gaze and saw the existence behind the mother of the red spider lilies. Could that be the Lord of the Blood Pagoda, the terrifying king of assassins? Among the Alliance army, there was no lack of experienced powerhouses, so they naturally knew a lot. It's really the king of assassins. I knew it, after the destruction of the Blood Pagoda. How could the king of assassins not make a move? He's a true great emperor of the path of killing, but now, why does it feel like he's been suppressed by the mother of the red spider lilies? This scene caused the entire Alliance army to be speechless. That was a true great emperor, one who stood above billions of living beings. But now, he was suppressed and became a prisoner. Everyone's respect for the mother of the red spider lilies deepened. It's really that great emperor of the path of killing. I heard that his rise was not much better than that of the ancient Chaos Great Emperor, and he once hid in a cesspool. Oh, could it be that he's the famous Great Emperor of the cesspool in the rumors? Yes, I heard that his real name is Go Shing, but because he's not elegant and looks a little like a dog, he only calls himself the King of Assassins. Hearing those faint whispers, the King of Assassins, Go Shing, the muscles on his face twitched, and his eyes shot out a murderous light, shaking the void. Who dared to mention the great Emperor of the cesspool and Go Shing in front of him? This was his dark history. Anyone who mentioned it would have their entire family wiped out. The mother of the red spider lilies snorted coldly, and Go Shing immediately felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His great emperor body trembled, and the mark of destruction in his body seemed to be about to explode. The King of Assassins had never been so aggrieved. You listen to Jun Xiaoyao's orders. Submit to the imperial court, and this is to atone for the sins of the Blood Pagoda. The mother of the red spider lilies coldly threw out these words, and her figure faded into the void, disappearing. With her strength, she could wipe out the 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty, but she was too lazy to do so. She just needed to express her attitude. The King of Assassins was stunned. He had thought that the mother of the red spider lilies wanted to take him as her servant. Who would have thought that the mother of the red spider lilies didn't care about him at all? She looked down on him, the great emperor, and handed him over to Jun Xiaoyao. The mark of destruction in his body was still there. If he did anything crazy or disobeyed Jun Xiaoyao's orders, the mark of destruction in his body would immediately explode, and even his great emperor body would be blown to pieces. The infamous King of Assassins didn't say a word as he landed on the Ark of War. That faint great emperor aura made the surrounding people not dare to get close. Wu Hu's eyes were also solemn, as expected of the great emperor of assassins. Even with his current strength, he couldn't compete with him. Unless he completely refined the heart of Protector and the blood of the desolate emperor and reached the quasi-emperor level, he would be able to compete with him. Everyone stayed far away from the King of Assassins. Only one creature actually walked toward the King of Assassins, and even wanted to put his arm around his shoulder. It was Jun Xiaoyao's former mount, the 9-headed lion. Hey brother, you're also called Go Shing. What a coincidence, my nickname is also Go Shing. The 9-headed lion casually said, and wanted to put his arm around the King of Assassins' shoulder. It felt so good to call a great emperor brother. However, the King of Assassins' face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He looked up to the sky and roared. His voice shook thousands of miles and shattered the stars in outer space, venting the depression in his heart. He wasn't called Go Shing, nor was he the great emperor of Dung. He was the master of the Blood Pagoda, the King of Assassins. Chapter 12:25. Hey, brother, do you also know the lion's roar of the 9-headed lion? It's fate. The 9-headed lion covered its ears in surprise. Not only did this person have the same name as it, but he also knew the lion's roar. The King of Assassins wanted to kill the 9-headed lion with a single glance. However, the mark of destruction in his body was constantly monitoring his actions. If the King of Assassins overstepped his boundaries, he would immediately die. Therefore, he couldn't kill the Emperor's Hall. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live. Generally speaking, the stronger one was, the more he cherished his life. In the end, the King of Assassins, who was filled with anger, only spat out a word coldly. Get lost. The sound wave was so powerful that it sent the 9-headed lion flying, making it dizzy. Hey you're called Go Shing, and I'm also called Go Shing. We're from the same root. Why are you so anxious to kill each other? Oh right, you also have a title, the Emperor of Feces. I'm different from you. I'm a 9-headed lion, not a dog, so I don't like to eat feces. But you're a human. How can you like feces? This shouldn't be. Don't tell me you really like feces? The 9-headed lion kept chattering as it combed its mane. The King of Assassins' eyes were bloodshot, and his blood-red hair danced in the wind. The King of Assassins looked up at the sky and roared in grief. He rushed out of the universe and destroyed countless stars to vent his anger. Heh, Why did a great emperor suddenly go crazy? He doesn't have the temperament of an emperor at all. His temperament is not as good as mine. The nine-headed lion curled its lips and commented. The surrounding cultivators were speechless, and black lines appeared on their foreheads. To be able to anger an emperor to this extent, you're also a talent. No, a lion talent. The parrot in the bronze immortal palace smacked its lips and said. They were both beasts, but why was the nine-headed lion so arrogant? Who would have thought that the king of assassins, the lord of Blood Pagoda, would be so miserable? Although he didn't die, he didn't seem to be much better than the sole overlord who had already fallen. Is this the consequence of provoking the June family? They're either dead or crazy. Seeing this scene, countless cultivators thought to themselves. The consequences of provoking June Xiaoyao were too tragic. After the secluded country, the Blood Pagoda also ended in such an absurd scene. Finally, the most eye-catching group was naturally the main army of the June family. And what they were facing was also the oldest and most mysterious heaven of the Jin dynasty, the three great assassins. Heaven was located in the Huntian immortal realm. This was something that many people did not expect. After all, the Huntian immortal realm was Xian Ting's territory. As an overlord faction that had once unified the Nine Heavens immortal realm and established the rules of the world, the Nine Heavens immortal realm was still in a daze. Who would dare to provoke Xian Ting? However, Heaven, an assassin from the Jin dynasty, took root in the Huntian immortal realm. This was indeed beyond many people's expectations. A thoughtful look flashed across the eyes of some people. Would the supreme Xian Ting allow the Jun family's army to enter the Huntian immortal realm so easily? Or think about it from a different perspective. If the Xian Ting army wanted to enter the Huangtian mystic realm for some reason, they would have to fight. Would the Jun family agree? For a moment, many big shots of the immortal forces were deep in thought as they paid attention to the battle. The Huntian immortal realm was not close to the Huangtian mystic realm. Even a supreme being would need a long time to cross it. However, the Jun family was full of vigor and was eager for revenge. All kinds of immortal sources were poured into the Ark of War as if they were free. The light of the formation lit up from time to time. The extravagant way of burning money made countless forces speechless. It was an eye-opener. The consumption of the Jun family's army alone was enough to match the resources of many forces for many years. It did not take long. The vast army of the Jun family's main bloodline rushed to the Huntian immortal realm like a steel dragon. This was an incomparably vast area. It was even much larger than the previous Huntian immortal realm. Countless forces lived in this immortal realm. Most of them were under the command of the Xian Ting. The Xian Ting had almost absolute dominance over the Huntian immortal realm. However, before the Xian Ting split, the entire Nine Heavens immortal realm was ruled by the Xian Ting. The nine immortal heritages ruled the nine immortal realms. However, after the collapse of the supreme Xian Ting, their sphere of influence shrank to the Huntian immortal realm. In fact, at that time, the Jun family was too lazy to care about the Xian Ting. The Xian Ting had once unified the Nine Heavens immortal realm, but in fact, only a small group of Xian Ting's army was stationed in the Huangtian immortal realm. The Jun family was too lazy to chase them away. They were just watching a clown. Now, the Jun family had come to the Huntian immortal realm, which was undoubtedly a risk. This risk did not come from heaven. It came from the Xian Ting. At a certain moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded in the void. Halt! In the universe ahead, a group of Xian Ting's heavenly soldiers and generals appeared. There were not many of them, only a small team. The Huntian immortal realm is under the Xian Ting's sphere of influence. The vast army of the Jun family was enough to intimidate countless forces. However, this group of heavenly soldiers and generals had no scruples. Obviously, there was an order behind them. They are here. Many supreme experts and old antiques who were watching the battle became alert. As one of the two overlords of the immortal realm, it would be strange if the Xian Ting did not stir up trouble. Get lost. Jun Tianming, the 8th patriarch, only spat out a word coldly. The Jun family was not in the mood to tangle with the Xian Ting. Even if you want to enter the Huntian immortal realm, you have to get the Xian Ting's permission. Otherwise, I will go and report it, the Xian Ting's heavenly general said. Jun Tianming let out a cold snort. Without another word, he struck out with his palm. How dare you! At this moment, a thunderous voice exploded. On the Huntian immortal realm side, a giant hand formed by the laws reached out and pressed down on Jun Tianming. You are the one who is being impudent. Jun Taihao, the 5th patriarch, glared and slashed out with his hatchet, directly cutting the giant hand of laws in half. Many gasps could be heard from all directions. The Jun family was so powerful. This is awesome. You are still so domineering in the Xian Ting's territory. As expected of the Jun family. Jun family, you are a little too much. What is the meaning of such a large army entering the Xian Ting's territory? A figure exuding the energy of a quasi-emperor emerged. It was a quasi-emperor of the Fuxi immortal system. The Xian Ting should know what the Jun family is going to do. So, don't block our way. Jun Taixien, the 6th patriarch, held an ancient peach-wood sword in his hand. Sword chi filled the sky. You want to eradicate heaven? But this is too much. Why don't you wait until we drive heaven out of the Huntian immortal realm before you go and annihilate it? The quasi-emperor of the Fuxi immortal system said lightly. This time, some of the people who were secretly observing also frowned, thinking that this was too much. They were obviously making things difficult for the Jun family. However, this was the Xian Ting's territory. If the Jun family's army entered rashly, they might even start a war. If that happened, they would probably suffer great losses with the Xian Ting before they could even wipe out heaven. However, at this moment, the entire universe seemed to be trembling slightly, and billions of stars were shaken to the ground. A hazy figure slowly walked over. It was as if he was stepping on all Daos. Behind him, 9 giant golden dragons roared in the sky, shaking the endless world. Each of the giant golden dragons seemed to be able to devour a great world. This incomparably majestic and hazy figure stood on top of the 9 dragons, looking down at the vast universe. Where the Jun family's army points, gods and demons shall retreat. Xian Ting, either you fight or get lost. The 3rd patriarch of the Jun family, the Emperor Tai, dominated the galaxy and swallowed the universe. Chapter 12:26. His majestic imperial voice reverberated across millions of miles. This was the attitude of an emperor. Jun Taihuang's speech was domineering. However, it was not intentional. It was just a natural display of his personality. In other words, there was no one in the Jun family who was not domineering. Jun Xiaoyao displayed the domineering personality inherited from his family to the extreme. You, the quasi-emperor of Fuxi immortal lineage, felt a monstrous aura pouring down on him. Even though he was a quasi-emperor, he could feel his body cracking as if he was being crushed by an ancient deity. Splat! The quasi-emperor of Fuxi immortal lineage was forced to one knee by the terrifying aura. This left everyone dumbstruck and incomparably stunned. The quasi-emperor of Fuxi immortal lineage broke out in cold sweat. His face was twitching. He was forced to kneel in front of countless forces. How humiliating was this for a quasi-emperor? This is not an ordinary emperor. The quasi-emperor of Fuxi immortal lineage's teeth were chattering. This aura was too terrifying. Although ordinary emperors were strong, they would not be able to force a quasi-emperor to one knee with just their aura alone. Jun Taihuang's true strength was definitely beyond that of an ordinary emperor. Even the quasi-emperor of Fuxi immortal lineage was the same. The fate of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals was obvious. One by one, they exploded into clouds of blood mist. They couldn't be any more dead. Fortunately, it was only a small group of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. If it was a large army, the Xian Ting and the Jun family would have to fight it out. At this moment, a calm voice was heard. As expected of the famous Emperor Tai Huang of the Jun family. You were unparalleled in your generation. Now you don't have to make things difficult for a quasi-emperor descendant, do you? Although the voice was faint, it was like the rumbling of Taoist music that resounded in everyone's ears. It's the Emperor of Xian Ting. The big shots of the forces of the immortal domain who were watching the situation were shocked. Even the Emperor of Xian Ting had appeared. Was he going to fight the Jun family? After all, a team of heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals had died in Xian Ting. This matter could be said to be very big, but it could also be very small. Jun Taihuang's hazy face was expressionless, as calm as water. If you don't want to fight, then don't block my way. Imperial brother, your Jun family's army has invaded my Xian Ting's territory in such a domineering manner. Isn't this a bit too much? The Emperor of Xian Ting said with a faint smile. Jun Taihuang raised his eyelids slightly. Who's calling you brother? When I attained my Tao, you were still wearing diapers. A single sentence caused the entire celestial realm to fall deathly silent. Countless experts widened their eyes, their jaws dropping to the ground. The third ancestor of the Jun family seemed to be a little too domineering. When he attained the Tao, was the Emperor of Xian Ting still wearing diapers? This was definitely blatant disdain. Even the Emperor of Xian Ting was stunned. Truth be told, if it were any other martial monarch, they would not accept such humiliation. Many people were guessing whether the Emperor of the Immortal Court would directly attack Jun Taihuang. A cold voice was heard. Retreat! My lord, the quasi-emperor of Fuxi celestial lineage, was reluctant, but he still gritted his teeth and retreated. At the sight of this, many experts from various forces were astonished. The Emperor of Xian Ting had retreated. No. Rather than retreating, it was more accurate to say that the Emperor of Xian Ting did not want to fall out with the Jun family. The reason was simple. This was because the current immortal court was not completely unified. Although it was known as the complete Xian Ting to the outside world, there were serious internal divisions. The immortal lineage of Empress Hua and the immortal lineage of Fuxi were fighting for the right to rule the immortal lineage. The current young Emperor Ling Yan and the ancient young Emperor Di Haotian corresponded to the immortal lineage of Empress Hua and the Fuxi lineage. In addition, the other immortal lineages also had their own thoughts. Before the Xian Ting was unified, it was not wise to rashly start a war with the Jun family, an immortal lineage of immortals. This time, the Xian Ting deliberately attacked to make things difficult for the Jun family. In fact, they were also trying to figure out the Jun family's attitude. Now, the Jun family's attitude was clear. If they want to fight, then let's fight. The Jun family is not afraid to fight. Therefore, the Xian Ting temporarily retreated. Humph, boring. Jun Tianming snorted coldly. The Jun family's army continued to surge into the Huntian immortal realm. The Grand Elder of the Immortal Academy was among the army. He was not the only one. Some disciples of the Immortal Academy, including Jun Xiaoyao's followers, companions, and friends, were also there. Firstly, they wanted to avenge Jun Xiaoyao. Secondly, they wanted to train themselves through the immortal battle. War God Barbarian, a follower of Jun Wuhui and one of the 8 divine kings, was also there. He wanted to avenge his young master. As for Aujio, the zither girl with double pupils, she did not show up. Ever since she parted ways with Jun Xiaoyao on the buried Emperor Star, Aujio had been cultivating alone and disappeared completely. She did not return to the Jun family. Not long after, the Jun family found the location of the heaven in their divination. However, when they saw this area, not to mention the forces that were watching from afar, even some people in the Jun family's army were a little surprised. Because this was not an ancient forbidden land, nor was it a hidden place, Nor was it an ancient world or a small world. This was a mortal world. Looking around, there were village houses, crisscrossed paths, old cows plowing the fields, and children playing. There were also peasant women washing clothes by a stream. This is where the heaven is? The ancestral patriarchs of the Jun family were a little surprised. If this was not deduced by Jiang Heng, who mastered the heavenly secret divine technique. They even thought that there might be a mistake. Hey Daddy, look, there are so many people flying in the sky. A child pulled the corner of a middle-aged man's clothes and pointed at the Jun family's army in the sky. Shoo, that's a deity. When the villagers saw this, they all knelt on the ground. This made the Jun family's army a little confused. Was this the place they were going to conquer? But this was a group of mortals. It was useless to kill them. However, in the sky, the fourth ancestor of the Jun family, Jun Taiyan, had a cold smile on her gentle face. Her lips curved into a mocking smile. She slammed her palm down, and endless starlight gathered. Millions of stars fell from the sky, turning into a destructive meteor shower that fell on the mortal world. Ancestor Taiyan, some ancestral patriarchs of the Jun family wanted to say something, but stopped. In fact, there was an unwritten rule in the world of cultivation. It was just that, under normal circumstances, cultivators couldn't slaughter mortals wantonly for no reason. This was because every cultivator started out as a mortal. Mortals were the foundation. If all the mortals were killed, the cultivators with the lowest cultivation would replace the mortals and become the new bottom layer. As this cycle continued, the number of living beings in the world would decrease. This was definitely a disaster. However, Jun Taiyan did not care. Isn't avenging the Jun family's Qilin child 10,000 times more important than the lives of a group of mortals? Also, look carefully, Jun Taiyan sneered. Rumble. The destructive meteor shower fell, and the group of mortals in the mortal world sank into destruction. Many of the spectating forces felt that they had gone too far. Suddenly, a corner of the array pattern flickered. The entire mortal world had turned into a vast array of destruction in an instant. The complete version of the sixth ancient killing array. The heavenly hall does have some foundation, Jun Taiyan said indifferently as she picked her delicate fingernails. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and then they understood. The entire mortal world was actually transformed from the ancient sixth killing formation. This was the reason why almost no one could find the heavenly hall. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. As expected of the fourth ancestor of the Jun family. Today, you want to destroy the heavenly hall. The Jun family will suffer a great loss. Chapter 12:27. At first, many of the powerhouses were a little confused. Heaven was actually hidden in the mortal world. It was only now that the light of the killing array appeared that many people realized it. It turned out that the entire mortal world was a powerful killing array. The sixth ancient killing array. The first and second killing arrays of the ancient era had almost been lost. The Jun family had the complete third ancient killing array. For heaven to have the complete sixth ancient killing array was definitely a strong foundation. It could be said that many powerful immortal forces did not have an ancient killing array. The sixth ancient killing array also had a special characteristic, which was that it possessed part of the power of an illusory array. This was also the reason why the sixth killing formation could transform into a mortal realm. This illusory array was so exquisite that even the average boundary emperor would not be able to find any clues without careful observation. The fourth ancestor, Jun Taiyan, saw through it at a glance. Of course, she was not the only one who saw through it. It was just that she was the first to act. TSK. No wonder heaven was able to become the head of the Jin dynasty. This foundation has indeed opened up a gap between them and the other two great Jin dynasty. The Blood Pagoda did not have an ancient killing array. The eighth ancient killing array of the Yu Kingdom. However, the difference in power between the ranks of the ancient killing arrays was like heaven and earth. At this moment, the entire mortal world had been transformed into a killing array. However, the June family army was not afraid at all. To think that the 6th Archean killing formation could stop their torrent of steel? That was simply wishful thinking. Kill! The 8th ancestor of the June family, June Tianming, commanded. The energy-gathering array on the 20 war arcs lit up with a dazzling light. It was the combined power of countless cultivators, which transformed into a destructive cannon of magical laws that blasted toward the halls of heaven's headquarters. Boom, boom, boom. The place suddenly trembled, as if an apocalyptic army was about to destroy the mortal world. Kill! However, on the heavens side, numerous figures also appeared in a flash. At the same time, 5 figures appeared, and the Boundary Emperor's power shook the world. They controlled the 6th ancient killing array at the same time to fight against the June family army. Countless assassins from the Heavenly Hall also appeared in the void and ambushed the June family's army. The battle broke out without any prelude. The June family army was like a giant steel beast, crushing everything in its path. The Heavenly Hall could only rely on the 6th ancient killing formation and the 5 boundary emperors to resist. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that this was just a desperate struggle of a cornered beast. Activate the Emperor weapon. There were quasi-emperors roaring in heaven. 3 balls of light appeared, emitting a vast emperor's aura. They were 3 immortal monarch weapons. As a nation of assassins, the Heavenly Hall had harvested many spoils of war, so it was natural for them to have many monarch weapons. However, competing with the June family was like a beggar competing with the king to see who was richer. Over at the June family's side, there was also a vast Emperor's aura. Emperor Mirror, Earth Emperor's Book, and Emperor Brush. The 3 Emperor armaments were summoned. Of course, the June family also brought out a few other imperial weapons. After all, during the Immortal War, the June family had defeated the 7 major forces and harvested many imperial weapons. At this moment, the cultivators of the Heavenly Hall were even more gloomy. How were they supposed to fight? However, the eyes of the 5 quasi-emperors were cold. Even if heaven were to be destroyed, the June family would not have it easy either. If the Heavenly Hall only relies on the 6th ancient killing formation, it is only a matter of time before it is destroyed. Don't forget that there is still a big shot who hasn't made his move yet. Many people looked at the majestic figure standing above the universe. The majestic Emperor's aura was vast, and the dragon's roar filled the sky. The 3rd ancestor Grand Emperor looked at the vast battle below, his eyes as calm as an ancient well. As the 3rd ancestor of the June family, he had seen too many grand battles. Compared to those battles, the Immortal War was not like a child's play, but it was still very ordinary. However, Emperor Grand Emperor did not want to delay. He slowly raised his hand, and the power of the great path gathered, shaking the heavens. Then, he slammed his palm down, trying to destroy the 6th ancient killing formation. That palm of laws came crashing down like the heavens, enveloping the entire mortal world within it. It was as if he could crush everything with a single palm. This was the power of the 3rd ancestor of the June family, Emperor Grand Emperor. Oh my God, is this the end of the world? He can destroy an entire world with a single palm. Fortunately, the Huntian mystic realm's laws are extremely ancient and sturdy. Otherwise, the entire mystic realm would be shaken. All the forces who were watching the battle gasped. It was just a simple palm, and he did not use any powerful technique. However, it felt more terrifying than any other technique. On heaven's side, even the 5 boundary emperors were shocked. They looked at each other, and a look of determination flashed across their eyes. Activate! A 9-winged angel from heaven shouted coldly. Boom! A vast aura exploded, and an immeasurable amount of golden holy light was suddenly emitted from heaven's encampment. A figure shrouded in golden holy light appeared. What was even more shocking was that there were actually 12 wings of light behind his back. Many people held their breaths when they saw this scene. Everyone knew that the strength of heaven's assassins was determined by the wings of light behind them. A 9-winged angel was a boundary emperor expert. A 12-winged angel was undoubtedly a true emperor-level existence. The 12-winged angel was a woman. Her face was covered with a helmet, and she wore a skirt armor. She looked valiant, and the 12 wings of light behind her flapped. Her emperor aura shook the universe. She held a spear of light in her hand, and it collided with the Grand Emperor's palm of laws, creating huge waves. Behind her, a terrifying battle formation appeared. There were at least 10,000 figures, and they were all angels with wings of light behind their backs. So this is heaven's trump card? It's terrifying. No wonder they're the head of the Jin dynasty's 3 great assassins. Wait, why do I feel that the 12-winged angel's condition isn't right? Some of the immortal realm experts saw some clues, and they took a deep breath. That 12-winged angel isn't human. It's a puppet, one of the experts exclaimed. Everyone was shocked. No one expected this. The 12-winged angel was actually a puppet with emperor-level strength. How rare was that? It was even rarer than an emperor weapon. It's not just the 12-winged angel. The 10,000 figures behind her are all puppets. Someone pointed out. This time, all the forces were in an uproar. The depth of the heavenly hall shocked many people. It was no wonder that heaven had such a long history and hadn't been destroyed. Which immortal realm expert could destroy such a foundation? The boundary emperor of heaven smiled coldly. This is heaven's emperor-level angel saint puppet and the 10,000 angel battle formation. We've already said that if the Jun family wants to destroy heaven, they'll have to suffer a great loss. The 5 quasi-emperors of the heavenly hall relaxed. Clearly, this foundation was enough to intimidate most immortal realm experts. Unfortunately, the Jun family wasn't one of them. In the depths of the universe, Jun Taihuang looked at the emperor-level angel saint puppet with a calm expression. There's still someone else. Come out as well. Jun Taihuang's tone was indifferent. His words, however, caused everyone to be shocked. Heaven still had a hidden foundation? Just as everyone was in shock and confusion, an old man's laughter suddenly rang out. Haha, as expected of the 3rd forefather of the Jun family. Heaven has made the biggest mistake this time. An old man in a holy robe appeared silently. The aura he exuded was suffocating. Another emperor. Chapter 12:28. This old man who had suddenly appeared seemed ordinary and unremarkable. However, there was no doubt that he was an emperor. He was dressed in a pure white robe with no wings of light on his back. His appearance was ordinary, and his hair was gray. He looked like an old man in the mortal world, and he even seemed a little amiable. However, Heaven was the top assassin of the Jin dynasty. As a member of Heaven, this old man was obviously not a kind person. Is that old man Heaven? Some of the big shots from the imperishable forces narrowed their eyes when they saw the old man. Old man Heaven was the most mysterious member of Heaven, and he was very old. He almost never appeared in the world, nor did he make a move. As long as he existed, it was a form of deterrence. Now, the Jun family's army had arrived. Old man Heaven could not sleep anymore, so he had to come out and fight. Otherwise, the entire Heaven would be destroyed. He did not think that an emperor-level angel saint puppet could stop Emperor Tai. Although it was an emperor-level puppet, there was still a gap between it and a real emperor-level powerhouse, and it could not fight for a long time. Moreover, Emperor Tai was much more powerful than the average emperor-level powerhouse. It was undoubtedly wishful thinking to rely on a puppet to fight Emperor Tai. Old man Heaven, you are still alive. Even Emperor Tai was a little surprised. Even he had heard of Old man Heaven, who had lived for many eras. Of course, it seemed that half of his body was already in the ground. After all, not everyone was born with an incomparably long lifespan like the Shanao of Beak. If he did not have a special opportunity, Old man Heaven would not live for long. We failed at the last step, but there is nothing we can do about it. The June family has indeed produced an outstanding young man. Old Man Heaven was the most senior member of Heaven. It was extremely rare to hear a compliment coming out of his mouth. However, when the crowd thought about it, they found it reasonable. After all, in the entire mystic realm, there was no one who could survive the fatal attacks of the 3 emperor-level powerhouses of the Jin dynasty. Jun Xiaoyao was the only one. Cut the crap. Let's fight in outer space. Emperor Tai was very straightforward and did not want to waste time. Everyone was surprised when they heard this. Jun Tai was going to fight the mysterious Old Man Heaven and the Saint Puppet alone. 1 versus 2, this was not something that anyone could do. Especially after reaching the martial monarch realm, it was very difficult to suppress those of the same level. Third ancestor. Some great ancestors of the Jun family were worried. Don't worry. Jun Taiyan and the other ancient ancestors didn't really care. How could the title of Emperor Tai be undeserved? Old Man Heaven sighed and didn't say anything. He took out a silver scepter that emitted a dazzling divine splendor. Seeing this, the 9 golden dragons behind Jun Tai roared. Finally, they intertwined and merged together to form a brilliant golden divine sword. 9 true dragon souls. Seeing this, many immortal forces, antiques and living fossils couldn't help but gasp. The 9 dragon god sword was a weapon refined from celestial materials, Tao tribulation gold, and 9 true dragon souls. Only the Jun family's great emperor realm ancestor would have been able to do such a thing. After all, that was the soul of a true dragon, which was rarely seen since ancient times. The appearance of a true dragon was enough to sweep across all directions. Holding the 9 dragon god sword in his hand, Jun Tai soared into the depths of the universe. Old Man Heaven and the great Emperor Angel Sheng Ho also soared into the sky and disappeared. In the next moment, an earth-shattering roar came from the depths of the universe. It was the sound of the Great Path, which overturned the sun, the moon, and the stars. Even the chaotic chi was blown out. The power of the vibrations even made the Huntian mystic realm tremble slightly. The battle between great emperors had begun. Many people wanted to witness the battle with their own eyes, but they couldn't get close. It was even difficult to watch from afar. That was because the great emperor light was so dazzling that it almost blinded people. Cultivators below the quasi-emperor level could not even watch the battle even if they wanted to. Only those above the boundary emperor realm could catch a glimpse of it. On the other side, the Jun family's army was still fighting against the Heaven. The 5 boundary emperors of the Heaven relied on the 6th ancient killing formation to barely hold on and buy time. Of course, the ancient ancestors of the Jun family were no pushovers either. Jun Taihao, the 5th ancestor, held a hatchet in his hand. With a slash, the hatchet flew across thousands of miles and destroyed one side of the formation. The 4th ancestor, Jun Taiyan, looked like a gentlewoman from the outside. She even had the temperament of a little bird. But now, she had turned into a violent maniac. With a raise of her hand, the power of a 9th tribulation boundary emperor shook the universe. How dare you hurt the Jun family's child? I didn't even see great-grandmother with my own eyes. You almost got me killed. Jun Taiyan raised her eyebrows. With a raise of her hand, the endless power of the stars gathered and turned into a giant star. Like a meteor crashing into Earth, it crashed down on the 6th ancient killing formation below. Tianyu quaking star. The corners of the eyes of many spectating experts twitched when they saw how violent the 4th ancestor was. As expected of the Jun family, men, women, old and young are all so domineering and violent. Boom! The giant star fell. The 6th ancient killing formation shook, and many of the formation patterns were damaged. The power of the vibrations instantly turned the assassins of the Heaven into blood foam. They didn't even have time to scream. Everyone in the Heaven placed their hopes on Old Man Heaven and the divine Emperor Angel. Even if they won, they could only temporarily order the Jun family to retreat. but it would also give them a chance to survive. After an unknown amount of time, the whole world was already covered in blood fog. Millions of corpses lay in the sea of blood. This was the immortal battle. Once it started, rivers of blood would flow. At this time, in the depths of the universe, there was a shocking collision, accompanied by the splashing of Emperor blood. "I'm still old after all." The voice was weak. It was Old Man Heaven. The next moment, a golden sword light that stretched for hundreds of millions of miles crossed the sky. Then, with a loud bang, the divine Emperor Angel was cut in half. No, seeing this scene, the people of the heaven were full of despair. Old Man Heaven and the divine Emperor Puppet were no match for the Emperor Tai. "You should have realized this from the moment you made a move against my June family." The Emperor Tai held the 9 dragons' divine sword, his face indifferent. Old Man Heaven chuckled. "I'm not satisfied. If I could complete this task, I would have been able to obtain a great opportunity to extend my life. Then, I would have been able to wait for the real opportunity to sublimate it. Unfortunately, I think this may be retribution. After all, back then, you killed so many people for the Xian Ting." Old Man Heaven's words immediately made all the powerhouses of the forces in the crowd widen their eyes. Some of them couldn't believe their ears. What is he talking about? Killing people for the Xian Ting? What's going on?" He ignored the shocked gazes around him. Old Man Heaven said to himself with a bitter smile on his face, "My heaven, as the assassination organization of the Xian Ting, is now almost destroyed. Is the Xian Ting still indifferent? Or is it that when the Xian Ting was first established, the sacrifices of my ancestors were all in vain?" Chapter 12:29. The crowd fell silent after hearing Old Man Heaven's words. No one had expected Old Man Heaven to say such words at this moment. Did Old Man Heaven do something for the Xian Ting? No, or was Old Man Heaven a part of the Xian Ting? "What are you talking about?" A cold voice came from the galaxy far away. It was the boundary monarch of the Xian Ting, expressing his dissatisfaction. The 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty were notorious in the 9 heavens immortal realm, but they were not far from it. Being associated with them would surely affect one's reputation. "Hey kid, you're still too young. You don't know about the history that has been sealed away." Old Man Heaven put on a fake smile. The boundary monarch of the Xian Ting responded coldly, but he could not say anything to refute it. In terms of age and experience, he was no different from a kid in front of Old Man Heaven. Many of the factions in the area fell into deep thought. They finally came to a realization. Why was Old Man Heaven stationed in the Huntian immortal realm instead of somewhere else? Was that the truth behind the matter? But why was the Xian Ting related to Old Man Heaven? One was the dominator of the 9 heavens immortal realm. The other was a kingdom of assassins in the shadows. As a matter of fact, many people were curious about the history behind Old Man Heaven. The boundary monarch of the Xian Ting was displeased. He said coldly, "Third forefather of the Jun clan, didn't you say you wanted to destroy the Old Man Heaven? Just kill him." He did not want Old Man Heaven to say more. "Do I need a junior like you to tell me what to do?" Jun Tai Huang harumphed coldly. The boundary monarch of the Xian Ting was knocked back by the aura. He groaned as the blood in his chest churned. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He glanced at Jun Tai Huang with great caution. He could not afford to offend this man. Old Man Heaven's gaze turned kind when he saw the situation. At least Jun Tai Huang was willing to let him finish his sentence. A general success is built on thousands of bones. The rise of a ruling faction usually means billions of bones. Even the formidable Xian Ting couldn't suppress the entire 9 heavens immortal realm when it was first established. Back then, the reason for establishing the Xian Ting was because of the throne of the Celestial Emperor. Some ancient supreme experts believed that the appearance of the heavenly emperor's throne meant that in the future, a hegemonic power was destined to rise in the immortal realms. The celestial emperor's throne is the symbol of the power of an overlord. Therefore, a terrifying force began to form around the Sky Emperor's throne. However, there are too many factions that we have to suppress in order to conquer the 9 heavens' immortal realm. It's not exaggerating to say that we have to slaughter every living thing. Therefore, the Xian Ting set up an assassination organization that specializes in assassinating the leaders of the forces that oppose the Xian Ting's hegemony. At this moment, the quasi-emperors of Xian Ting appeared. Someone interrupted coldly, "Enough, old man heaven, don't talk nonsense." "That's right. I, Xian Ting, have brought order and stability to the celestial realm, and I've made great contributions. How could I be someone that you can erase?" "Shut up." Before Old Man Heaven could say anything, Jun Taihuang snapped coldly and knocked the quasi-emperors of Xian Ting back. Old Man Heaven smiled at Jun Taihuang. It was hard to imagine that the two who were destined to fight to the death would be so harmonious. The Xian Ting was established to unite the celestial realm and become the hegemonic power, the founder of order. Therefore, they can't afford to have too many blemishes on their reputation. As the saying goes, the history books are written by the victors. They won't leave behind the darkness and filth. As a matter of fact, the Jun clan was strong enough to compete with the Xian Ting for supremacy. However, the Jun clan was too easygoing. It even split into the main clan and the hidden clan due to different ideologies. In the end, the Xian Ting emerged as the victors. They started to feel superior, as if they were the saviors of the celestial realm. The predecessor of Old Man Heaven, the Xian Ting Assassination Organization, was not recognized by the Xian Ting because they had done too many dark and filthy things. When the birds are gone, the bough is put away. When the cunning rabbit is dead, the hound is cooked. After the Xian Ting succeeded, there was no need for an assassination organization. The assassination organization was excluded and was even warned not to reveal anything about the Xian Ting. Later on, the leaders of many assassination organizations died mysteriously. The celestial realm declined step by step. It relied on the remaining resources to become Old Man Heaven. Maybe the immortal court is still a little bit merciful. That's why they allowed the heavenly hall to live and die on its own. But I hate it. The word hate was enough to express Old Man Heaven's unwillingness. Why should the predecessors of Old Man Heaven stain their hands with blood for the sake of the Xian Ting and become a dirty rat that everyone hates? Why should Old Man Heaven not have a share of the glory of the Xian Ting? Now that Old Man Heaven is in danger, the Xian Ting really doesn't care about our friendship. Old Man Heaven shouted coldly. What a load of nonsense! The faces of the quasi-emperors of the Xian Ting twitched. Many of the forces around them did not say anything, but they were secretly communicating with each other through divine consciousness. This was definitely a big piece of news. If the Jun family did not invade Old Man Heaven, perhaps this would be a secret forever. Old Man Heaven looked at Jun Taihuang with a faint smile on his old face. Thank you for giving me the chance to say so much. Old Man Heaven knew that he was severely injured and would definitely die if he fought with Jun Taihuang. There's no need to thank me. Old Man Heaven is destined to be destroyed today. Jun Taihuang was still expressionless. He would not be merciful to Old Man Heaven because of this. After all, Old Man Heaven had assassinated the son of God of the Jun family. This alone was enough to sentence Old Man Heaven to death. Haha! You killed too many people and will not have a good ending. This is retribution. If there is such retribution, then the Xian Ting, before Old Man Heaven could finish his sentence. A terrifying divine light that spanned hundreds of millions of miles came from somewhere in the Huntian immortal realm. It tore the sky and earth apart, piercing through the universe and shaking the universe. You slandered the Xian Ting. Die. A voice that sounded like the judgment of a deity rang out. The vast divine light shot directly toward Old Man Heaven. Splat! Blood splattered everywhere. The blood of an emperor splattered everywhere. There seemed to be sad music rising between heaven and earth. Countless divine laws of the great Tao dissipated. A rain of blood fell from the sky. This was the sign of an emperor's fall. My lord! Many of the people who were fighting below, including the 5 quasi-emperors, turned pale with fright when they saw this scene. Ha! Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Old Man Heaven spat out blood and laughed bitterly. His emperor body, which had already been severely injured by Jun Taihuang, was cracking and shattering like cracked porcelain. As a descendant of the Xian Ting assassination organization, Old Man Heaven did not die in the hands of the enemy. Instead, I died in the hands of the Xian Ting. How ironic! There was a loud boom. Old Man Heaven's emperor body collapsed. The vast starry sky seemed to have turned into a realm of nothingness. This scene caused everyone to be speechless. At this moment, the voice rang out again. Old Man Heaven, whose hands are stained with the blood of countless people, has slandered the Xian Ting. The Xian Ting, together with the Jun family, will eradicate this tumor. The Xian Ting also sent out their troops. Millions of celestial soldiers and celestial generals, led by several quasi-emperors, charged toward Old Man Heaven. Old Man Heaven, which was already on the verge of collapse under the attack of the Jun family, was naturally unable to stop the Xian Ting's army. This was no longer an immortal battle. It was a cruel massacre. The final result was indisputable. Old Man Heaven was completely destroyed. Not a single one was left alive. The Xian Ting's army, in particular, placed great importance on eliminating the root of the problem. They did not let anyone from Old Man Heaven go. This immortal battle finally came to an end. The 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty were all wiped out. However, this last immortal battle was beyond everyone's expectations. Who would have thought that the Jun family and the Xian Ting, who were originally at loggerheads with each other, would join forces to destroy Old Man Heaven? However, anyone with a brain would know what the Xian Ting meant. Still, no one dared to gossip about the Xian Ting openly. Trouble comes from the mouth. One wrong word could send one to Old Man Heaven. Chapter 1230. The immortal battle across the immortal realms finally came to an end. No one expected the Jun family to act so decisively. After all, the Jun family was affected by the curse of misfortune. There were even rumors saying that the Jun family could only protect themselves because of the curse of misfortune. They were no longer able to intimidate the others. However, the immortal battle had undoubtedly dispelled this ridiculous rumor. The Jun family was as strong as ever. They were not affected by the curse of misfortune at all. This time, the Jun family did not only want to avenge Jun Xiaoyao. It was also a kind of deterrence that showed the Jun family's boldness and strength. It would be foolish to think that the Jun family could be bullied just because of the curse of misfortune. The Jun family used the immortal battle to strengthen their reputation and status in the 9 heavens immortal realm. On the other hand, the Xian Ting, the Old Man Heaven's words did cause an uproar in the 9 heavens immortal realm. However, no one dared to talk about it openly. After all, the Xian Ting was still a formidable force. No one dared to provoke them. However, it was obvious that the immortal realm, the reputation and influence of the Xian Ting in the 9 heavens immortal realm were affected to a certain extent. It did not mean that the Xian Ting would be despised immediately. However, at least in the eyes of the other forces, the Xian Ting was no longer as glorious and superior as before. After the immortal battle came to an end, the 3 armies also began to return to the Huangtian immortal realm. However, the attention of many forces did not stop. The reason was simple. Although the 3 assassins of the Jin dynasty had been eliminated, however, it was worth noting that the real mastermind behind the attack on Jun Xiaoyao was not the 3 killer dynasties. They were only hired by someone else and were only following orders. Therefore, the mastermind behind the assassination of Jun Xiaoyao was not punished. Of course, everyone knew that. The Jun family was not stupid. They knew who the mastermind was. However, they did not pursue the matter. The reason was simple. It was not the right time for the Jun family to start a full-scale war. It was the same as the Xianting's idea. Everyone had a feeling that the real storm, the era of change, was coming. It was not a good thing to consume too much energy before it happened. Besides, the destruction of the 3 assassin divine dynasties was also a deterrent. At least, no one would dare to be used as a tool to target Jun Xiaoyao in the future. The 3 divine dynasties of assassins were a bloody example of this. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled on this storm, a voice suddenly rang out. The shocking news immediately set the entire 9 heavens immortal realm on fire. A realm experts saw a ray of the immortal realm Oceana beam of sword light shot over, traversing billions of miles across the sky, destroying countless stars along the way. There was a sword within the sword light. It was a sword that was surrounded by endless killing immortal light. No matter how vast and boundless the universe was, it could not stop the endless sharpness of that sword. Even a wisp of sword light could destroy a star field. Even a boundary emperor would be instantly sliced apart just by getting close to that sword. That is the immortal slaying sword. Were realm experts realm. Apart from the immortal weapon, the immortal sword, what other weapon could possess such an outstanding aura? A single sword was enough to stir a great storm in the immortal realm. It's really the immortal sword. Is the white-robed godly emperor back? The crowd immediately recalled the magnificent figure in a white robe when they saw the immortal sword. Jun Xiaoyao did not bring the immortal sword with him when he returned after the War of the 2 Realms. It was obvious that the immortal sword was in the hands of the white-robed godly emperor Jun Wuhui. And now the immortal sword had shown up. Did it mean the white-robed godly emperor had returned to protect his son? However, the crowd was confused. There was no sign of Jun Wuhui. Merely a single immortal extermination sword traversed across the endless sea to arrive, bringing along a myriad of strands of murderous sword light, its might grand, shaking the universe. What does that mean? Many people were confused. The white-robed godly emperor had not returned, but a sword did. What did that mean? Inside a small world somewhere in the immortal realm, a group of people was gathered in a space. They were members of the 3 great taboo families. The plan this time was a complete failure. The 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty are useless. A mystique venerable one from the Ji family said coldly. Ji Daoi, Ji Yingying, and the others from the Ji family had all died directly or indirectly at the hands of Jun Xiaoyao. Man proposes, God disposes. Who would have thought that even the 3 great boundary emperors could not kill Jun Xiaoyao? How did he survive? A Yu family powerhouse said. Now that the situation is like this, the Jun family is furious, and the 3 great Jin dynasty has been destroyed. We should return to the 9 heavens first and lay low for a while. A hint of worry appeared in the eyes of the Jin family's experts. For some reason, he felt uneasy. When the Yu family's expert heard this, he smiled faintly and shook his head. What's there to worry about? The Jun family only destroyed the 3 great assassins of the Jin dynasty. This means that they do not dare to provoke the 9 heavens forbidden zone. Why should we hide? The Yu family powerhouse did not seem to agree. Not to mention that the 3 great Jin dynasty did not reveal the buyer. So what if they did? Would the Jun family dare to touch them? If they dared to touch them, they would be provoking the 9 heavens forbidden zone. When the other 2 experts saw this, they also nodded in agreement. That was true. If the Jun family really wanted to make a fuss, they would have pursued the mastermind long ago. They would not have just targeted the 3 great Jin dynasty. Right at this moment, the small world suddenly trembled and shook violently. It was directly split into 2. Who is it? The three great taboo families trembled. Billions of killing sword light bloomed. They were blinded by the dazzling sword light. Then, they felt nothing. The three great taboo families were instantly reduced to ashes. After the light faded, the small world was torn into pieces. Only a divine sword that emitted divine light and suppressed the 9 heavens floated in the middle. After pausing for a moment, it tore through the air and left. In another realm, there was also a group of people. Their bodies were shrouded in green light and carried a sense of transcendence. They were the servants of Zhou Tiandaozi of the Heaven Tribe. The operation has failed, but that Jun Xiaoyao won't be able to do anything for the time being. That's right, Zhou Tiandaozi doesn't care about Jun Xiaoyao at all. He is the one who is blessed by the heavens. He is destined to dominate the world. The people of the Heaven Tribe smiled and prepared to return to the Heaven Tribe. Meanwhile, a brilliant sword light came from the distance. It crossed billions of li and tore the space apart. The people of the Heaven Tribe did not even have time to react before they were drowned by the sword light. Not long after, a shocking piece of news spread across the 9 heavens immortal realm. The Ji clan, Yu clan, and Jin clan, the 3 great taboo families in the immortal realm, were all wiped out. In addition to that, a group of mysterious people of the Heaven Tribe were eliminated too. The entire immortal realm was stirred once again. Everyone thought of that immortal exterminating sword that tore through the air from the endless sea. Everyone immediately came to a realization. Jun Wuhui did not show up in person. He had crossed billions of li across the realm ocean with the deity execution sword to avenge his son and kill the mastermind. Chapter 12:31. What kind of boldness was this? He didn't show up in person, but he threatened everyone with his sword. He killed everyone who threatened Jun Xiaoyao. He didn't even spare the mastermind. He was even more domineering and ruthless than the Jun family. That was Jun Wuhui, the white-robed king of gods. He could shake the entire 9 heavens immortal realm even if he didn't show up in person. Di Haotian's eyes widened when he heard the news. His face turned cold. Jun Wuhui, does he dare to kill me with the deity-slaying sword? However, speaking of the devil, he arrived. An immortal sword crossed countless galaxies and arrived at the Huntian immortal realm. It slashed down with a mighty aura. Stop it! A loud voice was heard. It was the Emperor of the Xian Ting. He reached out his hand and clashed with the sword light. A loud explosion spread in all directions. Countless factions were paying close attention to the Huntian immortal realm. Who would have thought that the Jun family's army had just retreated from the Huntian immortal realm? Jun Wuhui's deity-slaying sword came to them. Above a galaxy, the third ancestor, Jun Taihuang, shook his head with a wry smile. Everyone says I'm domineering, but I'm still not as good as Wuhui. As the third ancestor of the Jun family, he had to consider the whole family. He was able to eliminate the Jin dynasty in person because he thought highly of Jun Xiaoyao. However, it was extremely irrational to ask him to lead the Jun family into a full-scale war with the Xian Ting. Jun Wuhui didn't. He only knew that his son was bullied, and he had to take revenge. If he couldn't even protect his family, how could he protect the people in the immortal realm? That was Jun Wuhui's belief. I'm getting old. I'm not as decisive as a junior. Emperor Shen Yu shook his head and sighed. In the Huntian immortal realm, a deity-slaying sword floated in the vast universe, emitting millions of rays of light. Even the universe was shaking. Although it was only a weapon, it was a truly supreme weapon of slaughter. It even had a deity weapon spirit. His strength was definitely not weaker than a top-notch emperor. Otherwise, how could he seal the ultimate calamity? The immortal slaying sword floated above the Huntian immortal realm. This was a form of silent intimidation. Oh my God! Xian Ting is one of the masterminds behind this? Seeing this scene, the various forces were all astonished. He never thought that the celestial court would try to do something to Jun Xiaoyao. However, when he thought of Jun Xiaoyao's monstrous talent and his terrifying cultivation speed, he was shocked. It seemed reasonable that Xian Ting wanted to get rid of this hidden danger. A sigh came from Xian Ting's side. Then, many balls of light appeared. Among them were all kinds of top-grade immortal medicines. However, the immortal exterminating sword remained indifferent. Soon after, another large piece of resplendent crystal appeared. It was surrounded by primal chaos chi. That's a chaos gem. The eyes of many experts turned red. This was definitely a top-notch treasure material. Regardless of whether it was used for cultivation or forging divine weapons, it was a top-notch material. The immortal exterminating sword was still the same. Then, Xian Ting took out many supreme treasures, and even the divine fruit of life. This was a top-notch healing divine item that was not inferior to the spring of life. The immortal exterminating sword remained motionless. What exactly do you want? This is already the immortal court's concession. Xian Ting's voice became cold. Then, he came to a realization, finally understanding. A sigh sounded. Hao Tian, apologize. This time, you were indeed reckless. In a golden palace, Di Haotian stepped out. His long golden hair was brilliant, and his silver eyes were like the moon. He looked otherworldly, like a heavenly god, the son of a god. He was expressionless as he looked at the immortal exterminating sword floating in the vast universe. The fingers in his sleeves slowly clenched. This time, it was indeed Hao Tian's fault. I apologize here. I also hope that young Master Jun can recover soon. After Di Haotian finished speaking, he was about to turn around and leave. However, a wisp of the immortal exterminating sword's aura suddenly pressed down. Plop! Di Haotian directly knelt down on one knee. He was kneeling in the direction of the Huangtian mystic realm. In other words, Di Haotian knelt down on one knee in front of Jun Xiaoyao. Enough. Xian Ting's emperor also said with displeasure and released a wisp of aura to resist. Di Haotian immediately stood up. His incomparably handsome face was twitching slightly. The hands in his sleeves were clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His chest rose and fell, and his heart was beating as if it was about to explode. Finally, he took a deep breath, turned around, and returned to the Golden Palace without saying a word. After returning to the palace, Di Haotian sealed the surrounding space, and his face instantly became twisted and ferocious. Damn it, Jun Wuhui! I, Di Haotian, was born to be a king, destined to rule this great world. How dare you force me to kneel? Jun Wuhui, Jun Xiaoyao, and the Jun family, I, Di Haotian, want you to never be reincarnated. Di Haotian roared furiously, and his blonde hair danced wildly. He had completely lost his composure. He had completely lost his composure and demeanor of a banished immortal. One had to know that he was proud. Even when facing the mysterious little demon empress, he was neither servile nor overbearing, and had no intention of pleasing her. As the ancient young emperor of Xian Ting, he had the memory of reincarnation. In this great world, he was supposed to rule over everything step by step. But now, he was forced to kneel. To Di Haotian, this was more painful than death. This was a humiliation that could never be erased. Even if he became an immortal in the future, this would be a stain and humiliation that could never be erased. Golden divine energy vibrated, and the power of laws surged. The entire Golden Palace was riddled with holes. In the end, Di Haotian breathed heavily, and his chest rose and fell. After venting his anger, he temporarily calmed down. I, Di Haotian, swear to the heavens. Jun Wuhui, Jun Xiaoyao, one day, I will make you kneel in front of me too. The immortal slaying sword finally left the chaotic sky immortal realm. The resources that the Xian Ting compensated were naturally accepted by the Jun family and handed over to Jun Xiaoyao. Looks like the mastermind behind this is clear. It's the taboo family of the Nine Heavens, the Grey Clan, and the Sien Tings di Houtian. The immortal slaying sword's intimidation undoubtedly made everyone understand the ins and outs of this entire scheme. And just when everyone thought that the immortal slaying sword was going to return, a surprising scene appeared once again. The immortal slaying sword flashed into the well of heaven ascension. It was going to the Nine Heavens. For a moment, the entire immortal realm was dead silent. This was really amazing. The Nine Heavens was a transcendent place where forbidden areas stood. The immortal slaying sword flashed with immortal light. This is the Nine Heavens. It's not a place where you can be presumptuous. A cold snort suddenly came from the Saint Spirit ruins of the 10 great forbidden areas. It was a forbidden area where an ancient Saint Spirit was sleeping. A huge hand flashing with endless radiance of the great Tao grabbed the immortal slaying sword. It actually wanted to capture and suppress it. The immortal slaying sword vibrated, and a rain of light fell. A hazy human figure appeared. It was the immortal slaying sword's spirit. The immortal slaying sword's spirit pointed a finger, and the sword radiance was thousands of feet long. It crossed the sky and directly cut off the huge hand that was flashing with endless flames. Then, the immortal slaying sword's spirit activated the immortal slaying sword. 3 sword slashes. 1 sword fell on the Ji family's land. 1 sword fell on the Jin family's land. 1 sword fell on the Yu family's land. Boom. 3 loud sounds were heard. The 3 taboo families were caught off guard and immediately suffered heavy losses. Many screams and cries were heard, and there were countless casualties. In the taboo families, there was an emperor's aura that emitted a cold and furious aura. However, they did not dare to attack the immortal slaying sword recklessly. They are indeed in the wrong this time. Enough is enough. A faint voice came from the immortal mausoleum. The immortal slaying sword floated in the Nine Heavens with a brilliant glow. It was like a living immortal had descended upon the world, with a strong murderous immortal glow. As the news spread to the immortal realm, the experts of many factions were left speechless. They were completely dumbfounded. Holy crap, the godly emperor is so impressive. He managed to suppress the Nine Heavens with just an immortal sword. Damn it, if I had such a powerful father, I would be smiling even in my dreams. Come on, the Son of God of the Jun family is nothing compared to the Son of God of the Jun family. Countless discussions rang out, and all of them were filled with astonishment. Without a doubt, the name of the white-robed godly emperor had spread across the Nine Heavens' immortal realm once again. Shocking the Nine Heavens with an immortal sword, it was the legend of the godly emperor. Chapter 1232. Although the Nine Heavens were not the upper realms of the immortal region, however, in the eyes of many immortal domain creatures, the Nine Heavens always felt like they were a bit more transcendent than immortal domain, high up above. Otherwise, the taboo clan would not be so arrogant when they came to the immortal domain. They would not treat the living beings of the immortal domain with a superior attitude. In fact, there were many geniuses in the immortal realms who dreamed of entering the Nine Heavens to cultivate. It was as if the Nine Heavens were more noble than the immortal domain. But now, Jun Wuhui used the immortal slaying sword to suppress the entire Nine Heavens, directly attacking the 3 great taboo clans. This powerful scene not only shocked everyone, but also shocked everyone. This caused the hearts of many immortal region cultivators to surge, and they felt as if their blood was about to boil. Did you see that? So what if it's the Nine Heavens? How noble can it be compared to my immortal domain? That's right, in front of the white-robed God King, the Nine Heavens are nothing more than this. An immortal sword shook the Nine Heavens. How heroic! The Nine Heavens aren't the upper world of our immortal realms. There's no need to look up to them. The immortal slaying sword appeared to avenge Jun Xiaoyao. As a result, the celestial region's confidence was boosted. So what if it was the Nine Heavens? Wouldn't they still be intimidated by their immortal region's white-robed God King? Haha, good, very good. On the Nine Heavens Immortal Academy's side, the great elder of the Immortal Academy, who had just returned from the battle of the Immortal Academy, cheered when he heard the news. Some time ago, he saw many geniuses of the immortal realms yearning to enter the Nine Heavens. He did not even hesitate to beg the members of the forbidden clans to humble themselves. Immortal Academy's great elder felt great pain. The Nine Heavens were the source of the chaos. There were so many seniors in the immortal realm, such as the Desolate Emperor, the Endless Immortal Emperor, and the Ancient Chaos Immortal Emperor. But now, the juniors of the immortal realms actually yearned for the Nine Heavens so much. It had to be said that this was heartbreaking. But now, the white-robed God King Jun Wuhui had used his actions to prove it. The Nine Heavens were nothing more than this. Like father, like son. When he thought about how Jun Xiaoyao also had an expression of indifference towards the Nine Heavens, Immortal Academy's great elder couldn't help but reveal a smile. He had a vague feeling. If there was really the most terrifying turmoil in history in this world, then this pair of father and son would become heroes on the same level as Desolate Emperor, Ancient Chaos, and without end. Everyone continued to pay attention to the news of the Nine Heavens. However, after he attacked the three forbidden clans, just like that, the immortal slaying sword floated above the Nine Heavens, motionless, like an eternal blazing sun. What is the meaning of this? An indifferent voice rang out from a certain forbidden area. Do you still not understand? This is a silent threat to the Nine Heavens. If anyone dares to make a move against his children, they will have to bear the consequences. A cold laugh could be heard in another forbidden area. Haha, Jun Wuhui, what a Jun Wuhui! You haven't even proven your Tao, yet you're already so arrogant. An ethereal voice also came from the immortal mausoleum. Even though he has yet to prove his Tao, he possesses the fighting strength of an emperor. After awakening the absolute beginning divine king body, he can even fight against the calamity. He is indeed a rare monster. If he proves his Tao, he should be able to ascend to the myriad era emperor rankings. Doesn't that mean that he will become an obstacle? Haha, if the real purge begins, a mere white-robed divine king won't be able to stop it. But for now, it's best not to cause too much trouble. After all, the ancestors are still in hibernation, waiting for the time to ascend. He's just a junior from the Jun family. Does he really think that we'll be so free as to make a move against an ant? However, he can become a whetstone for the children of our forbidden areas. A cold laugh could be heard in the Saint Spirit ruins. The immortal slaying sword's deterrence only meant that they couldn't bully the weak. It didn't mean that even those of the same generation couldn't make a move against Jun Xiaoyao. Not long after, a chuckle with a transcendent intent could be heard in the Saint Spirit ruins. Seniors, don't worry. If Jun Xiaoyao really dares to come to the Nine Heavens, I will let him know what it means to be a frog at the bottom of a well. These were the bold words of a prince from a forbidden area in the Saint Spirit ruins. After 7 days, the immortal slaying sword finally left the Nine Heavens. Although this was a rarely seen killing immortal artifact, no one made a move to suppress and refine it. Because even if it could be suppressed, this was the Jun family's immortal artifact. The Jun family obviously wouldn't let the immortal slaying sword stay in the Nine Heavens. The significance of the immortal slaying 4 swords to the Jun family was equivalent to the celestial emperor's throne of Xian Ting and the 10 Yama kings of hell. Now, even the Nine Heavens forbidden areas didn't want to cause more trouble, let alone provoke the Jun family. After the immortal slaying sword returned to the immortal domain, it flew back to the endless sea. Along the way, all the people who saw that wisp of sword light had a look of reverence in their eyes. Who could rely on an immortal artifact to shock the Nine Heavens without showing up? Only the Divine King had no regrets. Of course, there were also some people who were more rational. They also knew that the real big shot in the Nine Heavens forbidden areas had yet to awaken. Therefore, the life forbidden areas didn't want to make a big fuss right now. Otherwise, wanting to shock the entire nine heavens forbidden areas by relying on an immortal slaying sword was indeed not quite possible. But no matter what, Jun Wuhui's move undoubtedly strengthened the immortal domain's momentum. At this point, the great storm regarding Jun Xiaoyao's assassination was considered to have completely ended. The three great assassins of the Jin dynasty, except for that Lord of Blood Pagoda, were all annihilated, not a single one left. The masterminds behind the three great forbidden families, the people of the lower realm, were wiped out. Even the ancestral land of the family also suffered heavy losses, with countless casualties. The group of people from the Heaven clan was also beheaded, and the Heaven clan did not state their position. But clearly this score they noted it down. The Xian Ting compensated a lot of rare resources. Di Haotian even knelt down. All the people who made a move against Jun Xiaoyao paid a huge price. This was also the Jun family's attitude. In a fight between peers, the Jun family would not intervene in the slightest. But if someone wanted to be shameless and play dirty, then the Jun family would also let them understand what was called dignity. After this storm ended, there were also many people who reacted. Although revenge was revenge, but Jun Xiaoyao suffered heavy injuries after all, his Dao foundation damaged. Even with all kinds of rare resources to heal, it would be difficult for him to fight again in a short period of time. This was undoubtedly disadvantageous for Jun Xiaoyao. Some of Jun Xiaoyao's enemies and opponents were secretly delighted, although it was a pity that Jun Xiaoyao didn't die. But in this situation, it was not an exaggeration to say that he was half crippled. In this world of great competition, time and opportunity were what they fought for. And Jun Xiaoyao would undoubtedly miss it. Just as many cultivators of the immortal realm were still thinking about the previous storm. In the Huntian immortal realm, news of the Chaos Demon planet's abnormal movements spread. Some people said that the Forgotten Kingdom was about to open. Unfortunately, the Xian Ting had already sealed off the entire Huntian immortal realm. Except for the 9 great immortal heritages of the Xian Ting, all the other forces and experts were not allowed to enter the Forgotten Kingdom. Such a domineering action undoubtedly made many people angry. Although the Forgotten Kingdom was extremely dangerous, there were also countless opportunities. Otherwise, it would not have attracted the attention of everyone. But they were also powerless. If the Xian Ting wanted to monopolize the Forgotten Kingdom, except for a few forces, the other forces were not even qualified to negotiate. But to everyone's disappointment, the few forces in the immortal realm that could confront the Xian Ting directly did not make a move. The Jun family's battle of the immortals had just ended, and they would not make any moves in a short period of time. The underworld had been lurking under the water, silent. As for the Archean royalty, the Holy Spirit clan, the Western sect, the Saints sect, and other forces, they were all waiting to see what the Xian Ting did. After that, the Xian Ting finally released news. The geniuses of the 9 great immortal heritages of the Xian Ting had the opportunity to choose their companions. In other words, as long as they were chosen by the Xian Ting, they would be qualified to explore the Forgotten Kingdom with them. For a time, the entire immortal realm became active. Some of the descendants of the clan of the Ancients, the descendants of the Archean royalty, the descendants of the imperishable sects, and the disciples of the hidden ancient clans. They all relied on their connections to get the opportunity to enter the Forgotten Kingdom with the geniuses of the Xian Ting. Because some time ago, a group of geniuses had already entered the 9 heavens. If they did not compete for the opportunities in the Forgotten Kingdom, then they would really fall behind others. Chapter 1233. Under these circumstances, the geniuses of the Xian Ting's 9 great immortal heritages were undoubtedly the center of attention. Regardless of whether they were the current heirs of the 9 great immortal heritages or the awakened seeds, they all received the attention of various factions. The most popular of them all, of course, they were Di Haotian and Ling Yan. One was the young emperor of the Xian Ting, while the other was the young emperor of the present age. Both of them had quite a few followers. Even Gu Tizi, who'd been on par with Ling Yan before, was no longer as famous as before. However, what was unexpected was that Ling Yan couldn't be bothered to meet anyone who came to pay her a visit. Chaotic Heaven's immortal domain, in a certain palace of Empress Wa's immortal heritage. Ling Yan, who was tall and slender, was dressed in a long, snow-white dress. Her features were exquisite beyond compare, and she seemed to be arguing with someone. Ever since Mars appeared, Ling Yan had left Immortal Academy and stayed in Empress Wa's Immortal Heritage's palace. Granny Lan, I don't even have the freedom to go out? Ling Yan's tone was no longer as aloof and domineering as it was outside. Sitting across from her was a quasi-emperor ancient ancestor of Empress Wa's Immortal Heritage, Granny Lan, who'd taught her cultivation since she was a child. Granny Lan had a head of silver hair. Her face wasn't that old, and her skin was as smooth as a baby's. She looked at Ling Yan and smiled faintly. Yuan, do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Don't tell me you're thinking of visiting Jun Xiaoyao? And no, I've only been cultivating for a long time and want to go out for a walk. Ling Yan stammered. In the outside world, she was the cold and aloof princess of the Xian Ting, the young emperor of the present age. But in front of Granny Lan, who'd taught her since she was a child, she was like an ordinary young girl. Hey Yuan, you're still as bad at lying as ever. Granny Lan shook her head and continued. But it's better to keep a distance. After all, you're the young emperor of the Xian Ting. Ling Yan bit her lip and said nothing. To be honest, when he heard that Jun Xiaoyao had been assassinated by 3 quasi-emperors of the Jin dynasty, he was shocked. Her heart seemed to stop for a moment. When she heard that Jun Xiaoyao had survived, she heaved a sigh of relief. But later, he heard that Jun Xiaoyao had been seriously injured. His Taoist foundation had been damaged, and he was almost crippled. It was even possible that he wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time and could only recuperate in the Jun family. Ling Yan felt an inexplicable worry. She knew that although Jun Xiaoyao looked calm and reserved on the surface, he was actually a man of few words. But deep down, he was an incomparably proud person. This sort of arrogance did not have a negative connotation. Instead, it was an innate confidence. Ordinary geniuses would not be able to withstand such a blow. Not to mention a monstrous genius like him who had never been seen before. Therefore, Ling Yan was worried and wanted to take a look. I really don't know what kind of bewitching potion that kid from the Jun family gave you. You're the young emperor of the Xian Ting. Granny Lan held her forehead and sighed. Ling Yan just remained silent. To be honest, she was also a little absent-minded. In the beginning, she and Jun Xiaoyao were absolute enemies. She was also one of the 7 rebellious emperors. She was always thinking about how to deal with him. But in the Black Abyss, she fell in love with Jun Xiaoyao. Everything seemed to have changed. On the inside of her thigh, there was a mark left by Jun Xiaoyao. In the world of the ruins of God, she and Jun Xiaoyao fell in love. Jun Xiaoyao was not affected, but she took off her clothes. For the first time in her life, she was seen naked by a man. After that, Fairy Yuan sacrificed herself and loved Jun Xiaoyao so deeply that her soul merged with his. Later, Ling Yan forced herself to find an excuse. It was because Fairy Maiden Yuan's soul was melded with hers that she developed special feelings for Jun Xiaoyao. But now, to be honest, Ling Yan felt that this excuse was ridiculous. Fairy Yuan might have had an impact, but it was absolutely impossible for her to change her mind immediately. After a long time of contact and getting along, Ling Yan unknowingly fell. This was perhaps something she did not expect. Granny Lan naturally did not know about Ling Yan's inner thoughts. She just said, "This forgotten kingdom is extremely important, even related to the future of the Xian Ting." Ling Yan sobered up and looked at Granny Lan. Granny Lan continued, "In fact, in the beginning, my Empress Wa's immortal lineage wanted to cooperate with Fushi's immortal lineage and jointly rule. That's why I wanted you to marry Gu Tizi. But then it failed, and now Di Haotian has appeared again. His ambition is known throughout the Xian Ting. He wants to become the master of this golden age of Xian Ting. And that position was originally yours, Yuan. Therefore, our Empress Wa's immortal lineage also needs to change our mindset. And the Forgotten Kingdom is our only chance. Granny Lan's words puzzled Ling Yan. Granny Lan, although there are ancient Xian Ting ruins in the Forgotten Kingdom, it shouldn't be enough to determine the future of the Xian Ting, right? Granny Lan looked at Ling Yan and smiled. But that smile made Ling Yan feel a sense of unfamiliarity. Yuan you are the hope of our Empress Wa's immortal lineage, the only core genius nurtured by the entire immortal lineage. Haven't you always wondered about the origin of your two souls? Perhaps you can find the answer in the Forgotten Kingdom. Granny Lan's words shook Ling Yan's eyes. Could there be other secrets to her two souls in one body? After returning to her chambers, Ling Yan remained in a daze. She was thinking. She didn't know why, but she felt like she was a delicate marionette. There seemed to be a pair of invisible hands behind her, controlling her fate. Just like how she controlled Fairy Yuan's fate. The more she thought about it, the more irritable Ling Yan became. In addition, she couldn't leave the Huntian immortal realm to see Jun Xiaoyao. This made her feel even more restless and uneasy. Right at this moment, a beautiful maid with two buns on her head came in to report to him. It was Ling Yan's maid, Sakura. Someone outside wants to see the Empress. Hearing this, Ling Yuan frowned slightly and said, "No." During this time, there had been people who wanted to visit her. Young masters of ancient clans, godson of imperishable sects, heirs of hidden ancient clans, and so on. They wanted to be her entourage, and be able to enter the Forgotten Kingdom with her. As for why Ling Yan was so popular, the reason was simple. Besides Ling Yan, who had many entourage spots, she was also the young empress of the Xian Ting. Traveling with her would undoubtedly increase one's sense of security. Moreover, Ling Yan was a famous beauty in the immortal realm. Who wouldn't want to travel with a beauty? What's more, she was a beauty with power and influence. If there were any sparks, it would definitely be a huge gain. More importantly, although there were rumors that Ling Yuan and Jun Xiaoyao seemed to have an unusual relationship, Ling Yuan was not the only one. However, Jun Xiaoyao was seriously injured and recuperating in the Jun family. It was impossible for him to come. Even if he came, the Xian Ting would not allow him to enter the Forgotten Kingdom. Therefore, this was undoubtedly a good opportunity to poach him. As the saying goes, although a famous flower is taken, I will loosen the soil. As long as the hoe was swung well, there was no corner that couldn't be dug down. Therefore, many heroes and young masters of the immortal realm flocked to Ling Yan like bees and butterflies attracted by the fragrance of flowers. Of course, Ling Yan couldn't even be bothered to meet them and rejected them all. Now, after hearing the news that Jun Xiaoyao was seriously injured, she was inexplicably irritated. How could she be in the mood to meet those young masters? But Sakura hesitated for a moment and then said, "That person said that it's fine if you don't go, as long as you don't regret it." Regret? When Ling Yan heard this, she was so angry that she laughed. These days there were really all kinds of people. Previously, there was a young master of a major power who directly knelt in front of the palace gate for 7 days and 7 nights, begging to go with her. If you want to rely on acting domineering to attract my attention, you are a bit ignorant and laughable. Ling Yan smiled coldly, but she still slowly got up. Naturally, it was not because she was attracted, nor was it because she was curious. It was just that she was in a bad mood and needed a punching bag. That person had bumped into her muzzle. Chapter 1234. At this moment, outside Empress Wa's immortal orthodoxy. A large number of people were looking forward to it. They were all young talents who came to see Ling Yan. Among them were some people with high status. Every one of them would attract attention and cause a commotion. but now they were like a swarm of bees and butterflies surrounding the place. The reason was simple. They all wanted to get a spot to enter the Forgotten Nation and travel with Ling Yan. The Forgotten Nation, one of the 7 incredible worlds, was dangerous, but there were also countless opportunities in it. Aside from the opportunities of the ancient Xian Ting, there were also various treasures and inheritances. Plus, Ling Yan was a great beauty. If he were to accidentally capture her heart during the journey, then he would have profited greatly. They would become the prince consort of the Xian Ting. In the future, they could even become a big shot in the Xian Ting. They would definitely soar to the sky. It was precisely because they harbored such expectations that many young geniuses had raised their heads in anticipation. There were even young talents who knelt in front of the palace gate for 7 days and 7 nights to express their sincerity to Ling Yan. Unfortunately, Ling Yan did not show up during this time. At this moment, in the crowd, a black-robed man stood there calmly. His head was covered with a hood, making it impossible to see his face. He was different from the other young talents who were looking forward to it, nervous and uneasy. He looked very calm and composed. At this moment there was another commotion in the crowd. "Oh my God, another son of the clan of the Ancients is here. How are they going to compete for the spots?" Previously, a seed of the Qin clan of the Ancients came. Now, a son of the Lu clan of the Ancients is here. Is that young Master Lu Fugue? He is the son of the Emperor of Heavenly Works of the Lu clan. He is the young master of the Lu clan. But I heard that he is lazy, foppish, and has 300 wives and concubines. As the crowd's discussion spread out, many people looked in the same direction. They saw 4 beautiful women carrying a dragon carriage. Sitting on top of it was a chubby man dressed in a golden robe, who looked like a ball of dough. He ate the spirit fruit while picking his teeth with a toothpick. To everyone's surprise, the toothpick was actually a Boundary Emperor weapon. TSK, as expected of the Lu clan of the Desolate Land, equally famous as the Gongshu clan, Mo clan and other powers, the strongest blacksmith clan in our immortal domain. When the surrounding young elites saw this scene, they couldn't help but click their tongues. The Lu clan of the Ancients was not considered to be one of the top clans in the immortal realm. If the Jun family was said to be the head of the clan of the Ancients in the immortal realm, then the Lu family could only be ranked in the middle. However, their reputation was not weak. Although they were not as powerful as the Jun family, they were still far more powerful than the other clans of the Ancients. The reason was very simple. It was because the Lu family was a family of blacksmith. It was rumored that the ancestors of the Lu family had once forged a pseudo-immortal weapon. Most of the immortal weapons in the 9 heavens immortal realm had been left behind since ancient times. No one was able to forge new immortal weapons. Even if it was a pseudo-immortal weapon, it was not something that an ordinary person could forge. As for Lu Fugue's father, the Heavenly Works Emperor, he was also a figure of the immortal domain. In terms of strength, he was not considered to be one of the strongest among the martial monarchs, but his forging skills were one of the best. Many martial monarchs had even asked him to forge monarch weapons and other weapons, thus they owed him a favor. It was the main reason why the Lu clan was so influential. Because even the Lu family didn't know exactly how many forces and experts owed them favors. Besides, the Lu clan's forging skills were worthy of being recruited and fawned upon by the other factions. Lu Fugue was the son of the Heavenly Works Emperor, and a young master of the Lu clan. No one dared to offend him. That being said, he did not have a good reputation. He was lazy, greedy, and lecherous. He had even tried to kidnap a saintess, but no one dared to pursue the matter because of his background. Damn it, he already has 300 wives and concubines, and he still dares to compete with us. Some of the young elites were wearing unpleasant looks. Even though Lu Fugue's appearance was unlikely to catch Ling Yan's attention. However, even if he managed to secure a spot, it would mean one less opportunity for the others. What? Do you want me to do it? The young master of the Lu clan, Lu Fugue, seemed to have heard the discussions around him. He picked his teeth and said nonchalantly, "No, of course not." Everyone backed away, not wanting to offend this young master. However, only a black-robed figure remained in place. It was as if he did not notice the young master of the Lu clan at all. Lu Fugue squinted his fat eyes and looked at the black-robed man. That was because he had a bad reputation. Therefore, many people stayed away from him. Everyone backed away, but the black-robed man did not move at all, as if he did not care about him at all. This made Lu Fugue a little curious. He said lazily, "Brother, are you also here to see young Emperor Ling Yan?" The black-robed man seemed to have just noticed Lu Fugue. He said nonchalantly, "Wrong, I'm not here to see her. I'm here to see her." Lu Fugue was stunned, then couldn't help but laugh. "Haha, brother, do you think young Emperor Ling Yan will be curious about you and give you a spot because you're dressed in black and acting mysterious? Save it, brother. Did you see that young master of a hidden ancient family kneeling there for 7 days and 7 nights, but he still hasn't seen young Emperor Ling Yan. And that one came half a month in advance. He even drew a portrait of young Emperor Ling Yan, but he still hasn't shown up." Lu Fugue really wanted to laugh. Even if he came here, he could only rely on his wealth and power to get a spot in the immortal lineage of Empress Hua. How could this black-robed man make Ling Yan come to see him? "Brother, I thought I was good at bragging. I didn't expect you to be better than me. However, if you're the son of God of the Jun family, then it's possible." Lu Fugue laughed. Of course, everyone knew that he was joking. The son of God of the Jun family was still recuperating in the ancestral land of the Jun family. It would take a few years for him to recover. The black-robed man said calmly, "She will see me." Lu Fugue saw this and shook his head with a smile. Sigh, another one with delusional disorder. Then, Lu Fugue stopped paying attention to the black-robed man. Suddenly, the gate of the palace opened. A tall, glamorous woman walked out calmly. Countless flowers of the great path and the trajectory of the stars appeared. The beautiful and noble young emperor of the Xian Ting finally appeared in front of everyone for the first time. Suddenly, the place was in an uproar. Many young masters of the major forces had waited for a long time just to see Ling Yan. *CK, it's Alcoa. On the carriage, Lu Fugue completely lost his composure and stared blankly. His eyes, which were only a slit, widened to the size of a walnut. It was hard for him. Even though he had 300 beautiful wives and concubines, compared to the beautiful Ling Yan in front of him. No, there was no comparison at all. How could a phoenix in the sky be compared to a flock of hens on the ground?